Do you want this back?
Oh, sure. Yeah, anyways, we'll talk later. There's for some reason,
I love that you got that.
Me too. Thank God some people like me.
I tried to get
Always a good time. I just actually signed up just today.
It's all about inspiration, support,
I should move later, but
right, that's right.
thank you. So that's good. So, as just a couple weeks ago, we got our funding in the next 2 years.
Oh, the German filmmakers are back.
We are making a movie.
I can tell. Did you like my movie about you?
I did not see your movie.
Oh, you should see my
You
movie.
must not be very famous.
No, I'm pretty not famous. You're right.
Excuse me. I don't know. Did you check your bag?
You need to open the lens and turn it on and stuff. That's always a good idea.
Oh, we know. We are
Don't knock my camera over again, though.
After school, several times a week.
I just want to make sure that everybody understands. So thank you for that.
Were you the guys that sent me the death threats this last week?
no.
You're sure? Because I got a couple death threats.
No.
You love Dave. Who's Dave?
We do not send death threats.
No,
We are
I
making
just
a movie.
no, I just wondered because you guys seemed a little bit, off. So, just wondered about the death threats.
That is not us.
Oh, you're sure?
Yeah.
Okay, because I reported it. Just wondering.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know why anyone would hate you so much. You are so kind. You're likable. Not annoying at all.
Well, I don't know. You guys called me a fascist, and
Oh.
Yeah, you guys did. You said that I like to ban books. Yeah, you did. I got it recorded.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
Oh, is that what you are? Turn the camera towards me. Make sure you get me.
In the interest of staying on time, we're running a little late, but we do have a quorum. Trustee Japs is just over there, and she joins us momentarily. We will begin tonight's meeting. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm Chair Ann Silver. I believe we have a quorum, and I know Gianna Jax is here. I just need her to take her seat. We want to proceed in a timely manner, and hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at the agenda. It's most unfortunate that we don't have a flag in our presence, but where? Oh, it's supposed to be, okay. Well, then that's great, but we will have a salute to the flag, and I will ask Senator Rupp, Chair Rupp, to lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will commence with the roll call. Trustee Rodriguez. Here. Trustee Rupp.
Present.
Chair Silver present. Trustee Moser. And Trustee Japs. I know you were. So let's reflect four of us are here. Trustee Japs including that. Just be nice. We will proceed immediately to public comment. There is a 3-minute time limit per person. No discussion or action by the board may be taken upon any matter raised under this public comment section until the matter has been specifically included on the agenda. I would also like to mention that there is a quorum for public comment. You will step up to the podium when I call your name. If you have not yet registered for public comment, there is a sign-up sheet back over there on the kids' table. If you wish to make public comment, please sign in and your name will be provided to me. And we will terminate your speaking after 3 minutes. It's not personal. We just have to abide by the rules. So we will start with Janet Butcher.
Janet Butcher for the record. I understand that this question may not be answered. However, it is an important question that needs to be addressed. Where are the 20 librarians that are short? Did they quit? If so, why? Has Washoe County, under the leadership of Alexis Hill, frozen the vacated positions from being replenished? If so, that is on the county commissioners who voted to freeze the replacements. Do we really need an assistant library director? That position was newly created just a couple years ago. This position was voted on by the county commissioner. Is there really a need for an assistant communication director? That position was newly created in November of 2024. Are new positions just created, or do they need to be voted on by the library board? In light of the recent developments of the school superintendent in Iowa, who truly was not eligible to work in the position he was hired for by the findings of an outside firm, please be careful in using outside firms to find our director. I wasn't going to bring this up, however, at the last meeting, someone brought up the benchmark library information that Stacy McKenzie put together. I believe it should be addressed further if their suggestion to present it to the commissioners is acted upon. I did some additional research on the libraries that Ms. McKenzie selected via AI. I don't think that they were really at the point yet where we can 100% rely on AI to give us exactly what we need or what we've asked for. Being from an information technology background, it still holds true, garbage in, garbage out. This benchmark comparison could not necessarily be a good comparison. Yes, they all are libraries. That is the one thing they have in common. Some of the libraries listed are controlled by cities, while some are municipalities, some are regional, and some are county. Within that, there are differences in demographics. For instance, the number of people, population, could say it's serving. The number says it could be serving. It could be 50% children, or it could be 75% adults. You can't compare. There are many other different variables. Union libraries versus non-union libraries. Median income can make a difference. The amount donors may donate. The reason I bring this up is to alert the board to be careful moving forward if you are going to use such a benchmark or something similar to it, that there should be more in-depth analysis done. I am submitting my research to be included in the minutes. Thank you to the board for stepping up to make this board accountable finally to the public. It's very refreshing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Diane Radcliffe.
Hello, my name is Deanne Radcliffe. I want to say thank you so very much for serving on the Library Board of Trustees. I just want to provide some comments about the Bird Eye Library. I am a native Nevadan. I've lived in Bird Eye nearly my entire life, and I'm certainly not young. I just wanted to make a plea to all of the trustees to really not replace the Bird Eye Library as it exists now with the bookmobile. That would be going back 45 years. I'm old. It used to come to the market down there before we had the downtown library and Sparks. So it was a really, really different case 45 years ago. I would hope that in 2025 that we would be able to keep the partnership library open. That is the library where my kids have gone to countless programs. Community members donated actually for that library as it was being built. It is joint use, and I'm sure you are going to be faced with some challenging decisions, but I would really make a kind plea not to replace the library with the bookmobile. Of all the services my taxes go to, my favorite service, bar none and most used, is the library. Thank you so much for your service and time.
Heather Cook.
I was told I could give you something. Fifth graders at Bird Eye Elementary School wrote some letters.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
My name is Heather Cook, and I'm the Bird Eye Elementary School librarian and a Bird Eye resident. I would like to thank everyone who is here tonight to support Bird Eye Community Library. Bird Eye Community Library is a partnership between the Washoe County School District, the Washoe County Library System, and the Nevada Department of Wildlife. Sometimes there is confusion about this partnership, so I would like to clarify that the Bird Eye Elementary School library is not in jeopardy of having its hours cut. It is the after-school public library hours which are staffed by the Washoe County Library System. Every year we have a senior walk at Bird Eye Elementary School. We invite high school seniors to come back to Bird Eye to tell us what they will be doing after graduation and to give students advice on the road ahead of them. The high school seniors meet in the Bird Eye Elementary Library and walk over to the school wearing their cap and gown. While we were waiting for all of the seniors to arrive this past June, I was listening to their conversations about what they remembered about the library when they attended Bird Eye Elementary School. One senior said, "Remember when we did VR, virtual reality? That was cool." I also reminded the seniors about the 3D printer demonstration we had. Washoe County Library staff brought virtual reality headsets for my students to use and a 3D printer for a demonstration. I still have the pumpkin that was 3D printed. It's right here in my pocket. This was before virtual reality and 3D printing were popular and readily available in our community. I received a note in the mail from a former Verdi Elementary School student who was also graduating from high school this past June, but lives in another state. She wrote, "There are many of you, likely more than when I left, but I wanted to thank you all. The library was always a safe place, and I was always welcome. You all helped me without hesitation and allowed me to check out entire series at once. You even bought a book that no library had so I could finish the series. I bought her that book. I'll always remember the Verdi Library and all that you did for me." When you have graduating high school seniors reminiscing about library activities and writing a thank you note to the Verdi Community Library, you know that this partnership is important and irreplaceable. At the last meeting, I touched upon the growth I have seen in Verdi over the last 20 years. Verdi Elementary School has seen the impact of this growth. Last year, we had 60 kindergartners who are now first graders. To put this in perspective, my son attended kindergarten at Verdi Elementary School. There were 10 students in kindergarten. With all of the growth and new development going on in Verdi, please consider staffing the Verdi Community Library for at least one afternoon evening a week for public library hours. Thank you.
Lafayette, clap.
Howdy y'all, my name is Mattia, I use she, they pronouns, and I'm here to urge you to keep the Verdi Public Library open for as many hours a week as possible. At a time when book bans are spreading like wildfire and our country leans more authoritarian than ever, libraries remain one of the last truly free spaces for reading, information, and discovery. Libraries are not luxuries, they are lifelines. And libraries don't just protect democracy, they protect public health too. Studies from the NIH and the CDC show that libraries improve health literacy and can even help communities achieve better health outcomes. For many families, the library is the only safe, accessible, and welcoming place to learn, to grow, and to thrive. Please, let's protect our libraries, protect our community health, and protect our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gideon Kaplowitz.
Hi, my name is Gideon. I'm a resident of Verdi, and I just ask you, please don't close our library any more than it's already closed, because there's very limited hours. I've raised both of my girls, who are now 10 and 14, from birth till they started at Verdi Elementary. We were regulars at the library. It has a wonderful bathroom, which is a great thing to have. It has one of the best water fountains, if not the only water fountain outside the school and all of Verdi. Books and movies. It also, because of the partnership with the wildlife, has all the taxidermy. And so my children learned about the native wildlife through the library. And these are things that can't be recreated with a bookmobile. It's a very special place. And it also has all of our public documents. It has the tax reports, it has the fire planning documents, and you walk in, every library does. You want to learn about the community in our state, that's where you go. And it just seems incomprehensible to me that there would be a consideration of closing anything. And so if it's a matter of staffing, like I'll work there. Like, where's the job posting? I mean it. I mean, I can get off work early, I'll work there. I'll volunteer, you don't even need to pay me. If it's a matter of money, I'll write a check. Like, well, how much money are we talking about? I have not seen a call to the community to say, hey, we need to raise X number of dollars to keep your library open. We have an incredibly invested community. And us Verdi folks, we show up to city council and commission meetings. We care about our community passionately. So recruit us to help out. And I really think closing hours of a public library it's a sign of an absolutely failing system. And there's no reason why our system should be failing. Thank you.
Ryan Koch, please.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Cook, and I've been a Verdi resident and a Verdi library patron for over 20 years. By profession, I'm a land surveyor who was involved in the original Verdi annexation to the city of Reno in 2001. In 2004, there was a settlement agreement between the county and the city, which is now known as the Mortensen-Garson Overlay District. That settlement stipulated that up to 3,000 residential units may be permitted within the annexed lands. To date, approximately 750 have been constructed near Boomtown and Cabela's. In 2021, Toll Brothers received a city tentative map approval for their Santara Quilisi properties, which included an additional 1,491 dwelling units. Toll is actively building and beginning to market those homes for sale. And using an average number of residents per household of 2.5, that equates to an additional 3,700 Verdi residents upon their build out. To put this in perspective, the Verdi population is under 1,400 according to the 2020 census. That means the toll development alone is slated to increase the Verdi population by over 250%. I'm stating this in an effort to emphasize the fact that the Verdi Library will be seeing a significant increase in demand in the very near future. I appreciate you letting me speak today. Thank you.
Anushka Kasavali.
Good evening. My name is Anushka, and I believe the Verdi Library should expand its hours of operation. People who live in rural areas deserve unrestricted access to educational materials, resources, and programs. By narrowing down the hours, you are preventing the Verdi community from being able to enhance their knowledge and from being able to gain the tools necessary to thrive in the real world. Free books are super cool. Not everyone can afford to buy a Kindle or even go to Barnes & Noble to purchase books. Not everyone can afford a device to access the internet. Most importantly, not a lot of people have the time to go to the library if it's only open from 3 to 6 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Many residents have school, work, and other obligations. Expanding the hours will allow for people to have flexibility to go to the library when they need it on their own time. With that being said, the voice of the Verdi Library should not be silenced. I hope that you can consider what's best for the Verdi community and keep it open as much as possible. People of all ages deserve to feel empowered by knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. Carlos Torres.
Hello everyone, thanks for allowing us to speak. My name is Carlos Torres. I was born here in Reno, but I was raised in Carson. I'm here to advocate for 24/7 funding for all public libraries in Reno. I know that's probably not on the table, but it's something that is necessary. Growing up, the library was a place that gave me somewhere to be safe, somewhere to learn. It was full of people that were always willing to help me, and there really are not places like that elsewhere in our community. If it's not the library, it's nothing, at least according to what we have right now. I just want to say that it was probably because of the Carson Library and the people there and the books that I could read and the things that I could check out and take home and learn and do that I was able to graduate at the top of my class at Carson High. And this year I just graduated from Yale University with a bachelor's degree in global affairs, and I'm planning on applying to law school. I just want to say that there's so many people in our communities that have the potential to do amazing things, and when we restrict them access to the very resources that allow them to do that, the books that allow them to explore worlds that they didn't know existed, we're really disconnecting ourselves from what we could be and where we should be. Yeah, our librarians and the resources in the library not only connect people to life-saving help, but they help people reach their wildest dreams and do things they didn't think were possible. I urge you guys to do everything in your power to keep all libraries open as much as possible. That's all I have to say today. Thank you.
Amy Pulver, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Amy Pulver. I do not live in Verdi, but it's a lovely place. I have 3 things to address tonight. First, I want to thank the library branch managers and staff who clearly did a lot of work over the past 2 weeks to put staff substance to the hours direction provided by the board. And also to thank Dave Solaro for his continued leadership in providing clear staff reports with strategic questions, directions, and identification of actions needed to be taken by the board. Second, there were a couple of things that were not entirely clear to me in reading the documents, but will likely become clear during the presentation and discussion. There are currently 20 unfilled positions, if I understand the September 17 meeting discussions correctly. It would be helpful if in tonight's discussion someone can identify if current means current staff in place or current staff in place plus the 20 unfilled positions. And if in the versus current columns on the tables, the increases, decreases from current staff in place are from the current staff or with the current staff plus the 20 unfilled positions. Third, at some point I would appreciate an update on the search for the library director. I was not able to find a request for proposals or request for qualifications for a search firm on the Washoe County Government Procurement website. I think identifying such a firm was a first step, and I don't know where we are in that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Cait Salim.
Cait Salim for the record. First off, thank you for having this meeting this evening. I hope you're as thrilled as I am to see this turnout from Verdi. It's incredible. I saw 40 plus emails in your packet, and that's amazing. I also want to speak for Gerlach. Gerlach deserves a library as well. There was much discussion about the rolling closures that we're having over these months. And the idea was, well, it's easier for them to catch a bus somewhere else to go to another branch, which isn't necessarily true, especially because those 3 libraries are in lower income areas. But Gerlach is way out there, and there's no bus that they can catch. And I appreciated the fact that in the staff proposed option, they want to be back at Gerlach. They see the impact they make on that community as well. And so I hope in your conversation that you will add back Gerlach as well. Please don't take lack of being at this meeting as lack of interest on their part. I also hope in looking at all the options that you will consider a full service option. I found the books only option to be quite gross, honestly. Libraries aren't books, but they are more than books. And I look at this Explorer every month, and all the amazing services and programs that are in our libraries for our community. Something that came across my desk today and that I saw was the Celebrate Teentober. And Teentober aims to celebrate teens, promote year-round teen services, and the innovative ways teen services help teens learn new skills and feel their passions in and outside the library. It's not just reading books, it's also showing them the arts programs out there. My understanding is they're going to go to the Holland Project for an event. And as those of us that have been involved in arts in our community, we know that those arts can save lives, and very often that will start with things like this. And our teens need our support, as well as our families, with all the other events that these libraries provide for our families and our seniors, and all over the community. So I hope you will completely disregard that books only option and fully support our libraries. You can see people find them just life-changing and so important to our daily lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Cait Salim.
Hey, I'm Kate Marnicky. Sorry for my change of weather cold. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening, and thank you for your service and your hard work. I've been a Washoe County resident for 14 years, and my statement here is very simple. I use the library in a myriad of ways, checking out books, using interlibrary loan services, reading ebooks through Libby, renting DVDs, and reserving community rooms for group meetings. I've helped organize free movie nights for the public by using these community spaces. The library is also a quiet place to get away when I need to work, but also need to get out of my own house. I learn about new books by perusing the shelves. There's no way I can afford to read all the books I read without the library. Properly funding our library system should be a top priority. I admit I am somewhat shocked we all need to be here tonight to state this. How shameful would it be to have a library system with limited hours and sparse shelves? What kind of community would we have? I ask that you properly fund the Washoe County Library System, maintain and/or extend hours of operations, and keep our shelves full of a wide range of books. Thank you all.
Nicole Harris.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Harris, and I applaud everyone here tonight because we are here to find creative solutions for this ongoing situation. It's been a hard-fought couple of years, I want to put that to say, and this is not an easy job for you guys to fill, quote unquote. I come here today because I have another idea I want to share. I'm a senior citizen. I love those discounts for us seniors. And as I'm looking here as the population growing, we have a diverse population, not just coming from other areas of the country or from our neighboring states, but we also have growth here within our community. I'm a realtor by profession, so I hear the comments from folks that move here. Well, what about Verdi? What about Gerlach? What are we gonna do? What's the infrastructure? Those are hard questions for me to answer in some respect. The other group I represent are the seniors. Senior Rescue Magazine is doing a phenomenal job in giving seniors an opportunity to become connected to our community. I remember my grandmother, all of us have those memories. You go to their homes, they cook their favorite foods, etc. Senior Rescue Magazine is here, and we have done some partnering with other communities that have been very successful. For example, we have the senior cooking class at the Reno Elks. It's a free demonstration so seniors can come. We're gonna visit the senior homes and the facility to partner with them so they have an activity for those seniors that are sitting there because they feel no one is paying attention to me. And my heart goes out to them. Second of all, we have partners with the Truckee Meadow Fire Department to do defensible space for seniors. We also have Alibi's Friends Fund that provide financial aid for veterinarian care. We also just finished the planter boxes in front of Spark Senior Center. So I invite you to consider rolling out a program to involve seniors. Right now, we just put out an alert to ask for seniors to come to help. I'm not going to administer the program. You guys are going to try to figure out how to do it. But I think there are seniors in all our communities that want to volunteer at their local library. And that is what we can do because grandparents and seniors are very valuable. So I really would like you to consider that. One of the other things we just did partnering with the Reno Elks is doing the Christmas ornament program time for the Christmas tree. Nevada is the first time in our history that we've been honored to put the people's tree in Washington, D.C. And a fourth grader was selected with his essay, and he and his family are going to turn the lights on for the tree. Those are partnerships. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Eileen Ekman.
Okay. Oops. Members of the Board of Trustees, thank you for the opportunity to speak. For the record, my name is Eileen Eklund and I live in Sparks. Today I would like to, first of all, thank the board and the Assistant County Manager, Solaro, for all your efforts to find a workable solution to our library's budget challenges. It's very clear that a lot of work has gone into developing the various options before you. And I'm particularly glad that library staff were consulted and their input incorporated. Our dedicated Washoe library staff are the frontline experts in assessing community needs and delivering the many services our library system provides to the community as a whole. I strongly urge the board to move forward on approving a recommended FY27 library budget that includes community services above and beyond the books-only option. It's very clear to those of us who use the libraries regularly that these services are invaluable, whether they be children's story hours, technology classes for seniors, assistance for job seekers, or many of the other crucial services and programs our libraries provide. I urge you to study the various options Mr. Solaro has provided and work toward a budget that targets services to the needs of the various branches, maintains the greatest number of hours possible for each branch and partner library, given budget constraints. Finally, I'd like to say that I've been very moved by the outpouring of support for the Verdad Library branch. The many heartfelt comments you've received illustrate the crucial role our libraries play, not just in Verdad, but in every community in our region. I know the board understands how important it is that we all work together now as a community and with mutual respect to find the best possible solution to the challenges at hand. Thank you for your time.
Carol DeCruz.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I handed you a packet with a series of graphs that I'm going to go over. The first three graphs show the funding levels for Washoe County Library System compared with all of the other library systems across the country that serve populations of between 400,000 to 600,000 people, so kind of the range around the population Washoe County is serving. The last three graphs compare funding levels for Washoe County to funding levels for all of the other library systems in Nevada. All of these data came from the most recent survey by the Institute for Museum and Library Services with the federal agency, which is a federal agency. So on the first page, you can see the total budget per capita for libraries serving between 400 and 600,000 people. The red arrow indicates funding level for Washoe County, which is about $34 per capita versus the average, which is $53. Page 2 show the data on the size of the library's collection. So these are the number of physical books in the collection. The number of books per capita for Washoe County is near the bottom with 0.6 books per person, which is less than half of the average for the other library systems. On the next page, you can see electronic library materials. Washoe County Library System has 0.07 ebooks per person, while the average nationwide for similar sized libraries is more than 10 times that. The last three graphs compare Washoe County to other Nevada libraries. On page 4, you can see that Washoe County library funding is less than half of the state average. The second graph there on page 4 shows the size of the book collections. The state average number of books per person is 8 times higher than the number of books per person in Washoe County. On the last page is the graph showing the number of ebooks in Nevada libraries, and the state average is actually 25 times higher than the average number of ebooks per person for Washoe County. I'd say that these data tell us a few things. One is that the Washoe County library system is chronically underfunded nationally. It's also underfunded even compared to other libraries in Nevada. It also tells us that the staff of our library system is doing really amazing work with extremely limited resources. And also, as far as the library budget goes, I would say you can't squeeze blood from a stone. I would encourage the board to look back at the Thriving Communities budget that was presented at the July meeting. That budget would allow the library system to meet state standards and better provide for the community's needs. Thank you.
What'd you say?
I'm sorry, Mr. Abu?
Oh, yes, ma'am. That's me. I can't hear very well, so. Yeah, my name is Fred Abood for the record. I do have a son that goes to Verde Elementary School. I'm a native Nevadan as well. 46 years, you know, and I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why are we sitting here talking about a 9.5 hours? It's hard to comprehend that we can't afford to pay somebody 9.5 hours, let alone, like, this should be this position should have a livable wage, right? There should be somebody there 40 hours a week that has a livable wage, that has a pension just like everybody else at the state, right? There's no reason we should be cutting funds for a library. The growth that this gentleman brought up about Toll Brothers, and I've been in the construction industry for going on 25 years now. Reno is extremely busy. The county has got to be able to manage money a bit better than to cut our library system. I believe it's absolutely ridiculous. And sorry, I should have started off, thank you for being here. I know all you guys get is rough shots all the time, and I get that, so my apologies for that. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. You know, this is we need to have livable wages at these positions. Then we wouldn't be sitting here talking about, can we afford 9.5 hours or not? We cut it so close, I think under 32 hours, and the county or the state, they don't get benefits. Is that correct? I think I'm pretty correct on that. But if they were full-time positions, I bet we would be able to fill these jobs. And so that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie, Martha?
Hello, my name is Eugenie Montblanc, and thank you for taking my comments today. Experts say our society is currently facing an epidemic of social isolation. Common community spaces are decreasing, and at the same time, we're having a rapid growth and expansion in Verde. Now is not the time to close the Verde Library. It's one of the only spaces in this rural western edge of the county for educational and technological resources for kids and adults who have no transportation or limited mobility. There's no public transportation in Verde. It's the only natural history museum in this western edge of town. It has one of the only public meeting spaces. I've participated in many meetings, county meetings where we've had sheriff updates and fire protection district updates. I don't know where else those would take place. And they have programs that benefit our kids. 2 years ago, there was a staffing shortage for after-school care, and we were shut out of the after-school care program at Verde Elementary. And the Mini Makers Arts and Science program was one of our lifesavers for after-school activities for my son. Please keep the Verde Library open to the fullest extent possible. Thank you.
Caleb Stroop, I'm sorry.
My name is Caleb Stroop. I'm a resident of Verde, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I have a daughter, third grader, who goes to Verde. She's in the audience right now, actually. She's reading a book she got from the Verdi Library. She loves to read. She goes there multiple times a week, both during school hours and after. After school, her friends make plans to meet there and look through the books, find things that interest them, and could bring books home and learn more on their own time. I think it's crazy that we're all here talking about closing libraries. I mean, as the Board of Trustees, I think it's your responsibility to not close libraries, expand hours in little libraries like this. And frankly, anything short of that is a failure, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Thank you.
Sandy Tibbet for the record. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. So I appreciate the library staff's input and the detailed report provided by Mr. Solero to help guide our budget decisions tonight. I am in strong support of maintaining our full service model to remain aligned with our current strategic plan. Strategic plans focus on literacy and community engagement, guaranteeing we establish a strong groundwork for our upcoming strategic plan with the new incoming director. So I'm particularly concerned about the proposed hour allocations, specifically for the downtown and the Verdi branches. I believe Verdi's growing community warrants maintaining or increasing its hours, not reducing them, especially given the overwhelming community support shown here tonight and the numerous emails. The emails and the support, they underscore Verdi's demand for their library access, which is important. So I propose closing the downtown branch on Sundays and operating it from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. I don't understand why we're expanding its hours. Monday through Friday to streamline staffing while serving any high traffic, not that I think there is, for the weekdays. For Verdi, we should maintain the current hours or at least add a weekend day, such as Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. To meet its growing needs. We can also reduce the hours at North Valleys. That's my library. There's no reason for it to be open from 10 to 6 or 10 to 7. Those hours can go to libraries that need them, right? I am in support of the hybrid option. I feel it aligns closer to our current staffing capacity while preserving our full service programming. I think this option strikes a practical balance between service expansion and our fiscal constraints. The staff proposed adjustments like reduced hours at Duncan and Sierra View that reflects the branch manager's insights into community's demand, ensuring efficiency, resource use. I do feel our staffing model should be based off the number of checkouts and not our population. I think we need to identify the low traffic locations so we can staff those branches accordingly. I strongly endorse the floating staffing pool concept. This innovative approach can support high traffic programs like children's and senior events without requiring permanent hires at each branch. It optimizes costs while maintaining the programming our communities value, aligning again with our strategic plan mission. To move forward, I urge the board to refine the hybrid option, incorporating the floating staff pool and exploring a reallocation of downtown hours to Verdi or North Valleys, or we can do some changes there. They don't need to be open that late. We should also request a detailed fiscal note to clarify budget impacts before the county commission, but I don't think we have time for that. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen.
Can I ask you to step
Excuse
back
me.
from the podium, please? And you, sir? There's no reason for you to stand. Thank you. If you'll just have a seat. Thank you. And if you would remain 6 feet away from the podium now. Thank you.
She has to move.
Drew Rebar for the record. I'm all about the First Amendment, our Constitution, and equal rights for all. As far as the library funding goes, I think you do, just real quick on that, I think you do have some extra money if you look at it. Jeff Scott's gone, that was a big payroll. Mackenzie's gone, that's a big payroll. And you've got one man fulfilling the duties, and he's getting paid by the county. So there's a bit of money there. Now let's go on to the real issue. September 17th, there was a library board meeting. I came up here because I'm upset because the library, Washoe County, City of Reno, and our center are creating political band lists. My 3 minutes was interrupted by Vice Chair Ruff. I was stopped from speaking based on the direction I'm facing. That's a content discrimination. That is what is called viewpoint discrimination, Chair. Rosenberg versus Rector and Visitors, University of Virginia, 1995. It's also called unlawful prior restraint, which is a constitutional violation. If you like the case law for that, that's called White versus City of Norwalk, 9th Circuit, 1990. And retaliation for protected political speech, contrary to the First Amendment. That's Tinker versus Des Moines, 1969. The case law is very deep and goes back a long way. The only kind of restrictions you can place have to be tailored to serve a significant government interest. Which direction I face, what my words are, do not matter. You cannot regulate my content. You have strict time, place, and manner restrictions on the First Amendment. This board, any other board, does not get to regulate what anybody in this room says. We all have freedom of speech, or under Article 1, Section 9 of the Nevada Constitution, no law shall be made. So, for my speech getting interrupted, Vice Chair Ruff has earned a lawsuit. I'm going to amend my lawsuit and name her personally. Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Ruff, forgive me. Vice Chair Mosier, I'm sorry. She's the one that you weren't there last week. I apologize. Accept that, please.
What do you have to say about the libraries? I'm sorry.
Excuse me, could you continue with your public?
So anyways, my speech has been interrupted. I've been banned from libraries because you don't like my political positions, along with some other people in our community, obviously. Anyways, we're going to take 30 minutes or 29 seconds of silence for Charlie Kirk. They're interrupting my time. Why are you allowing them to interrupt my time? I'm going to name all of you in the lawsuit if you allow this to happen. You're interrupting my time, my 30 seconds. When you had the LGBTQ person up here several months ago, they were allowed to continue to speak. Why is my time interrupted? Fine, we'll name all of you.
Julia Murphy, please.
Hey, Cole.
Hello, Julia Murphy for the record. I am a resident of Verdi and a mom to a Verdi Elementary School second grader who loves the Magic Treehouse. I am also a mom to a 2-year-old who cannot get enough Llama Llama. I am here today to ask you to please not close public hours at the Verdi Library. My children love the Verdi Library, or the one with the animals, as my 2-year-old calls it. Weekly, we attend the Mini Makers and have been lucky enough to catch a dance routine, hear from countless guest speakers, and make numerous crafts. Through spending time at Mini Makers every week, we have had the exposure within the library to check out numerous books and spent time reading and enjoying this public space. The place is so beautiful and such a staple for the Verdi community. It is hard to imagine that as I watch Verdi grow bigger before my eyes daily, there would be a situation in which this library would be getting used less over the next few years, or not at all. For those in Verdi without adequate transportation to get them to Robb Drive, this library and its interconnected system make it possible for them to stay connected to our community as a whole. This service is crucial for our community, and while I can appreciate the idea of using a bookmobile, there is a beautiful, well-kept building that is currently readily available to be used, complete with the animals that my 2-year-old loves so much. The Verdi Library is such a gem of our community, and I implore you to reconsider your plans to close this branch.
Madison?
Hello. Do I have to hold it? Okay. Hi, I'm Madison Calvert. This is my son, Wyatt Calvert. We are Verdi residents. He is a kindergartner at Verdi Elementary. We have lived in Verdi since 2015. And I checked today on our app, and we have rented 323 books from the Verdi Library. It would be a huge disservice to me. I am one of the residents that you guys speak of that has limited childcare. I'm trying to raise a family while everything prices increase. It's one of the only resources we can use. We ride our bike there weekly, and we've been utilizing it since he was born. So it would be a huge disservice for this public resource for us to close. So thank you so much.
Michelle, yes.
Hi everyone, I'll just start talking as I walk. Thank all of you for being present and allowing us a space to speak, and thank everyone here.
Please face us.
Sorry. I should have learned. But thank everyone behind me for also showing up and showing your support and belief in how important libraries and information services are to our community. I 2 years ago experienced a life-changing disability that restricted my movement, my ability to come to common spaces, and it was the Washoe County Library system that literally saved my life. Thanks to the locker system in Verdi Library and the drive-through system in Northwest Library off-Rob, I was able to use limited mobility, which I had, to access knowledge. And throughout that time, I befriended many librarians who I then inquired, well, how'd you become a librarian? I am now in my 3rd semester as an MLIS student at San Jose State University. Woo! I would turn around and thank you, but I shall not. And the experience in education has been incredible. I don't know that everyone behind me knows that out of the $4.5 million ballot measure, WC1, I believe it was, that the majority of those voters actually used our libraries to cast their ballot. So that's an interesting thing because they cast against this measure. So they voted against this $4.5 million allocation to help keep our libraries staffed properly, to keep the books coming, to keep the hours open. This does not fall on you. I recognize how hard all of you are working and how committed you are, and I thank you for that. In Verdi, I have only been a resident since 2019, but I do know that the young adults, the children, and the seniors really appreciate the accessibility to information because, as many people have mentioned, our ability for or access to public transport is pretty nil. So they can ride their bikes, they can walk. There's a couple that I have watched walk every single day, hand in hand. They must be in their 80s. And once a week, I know, they go to the Verdi Library. And I know that all of the friends I have, one of whom my neighbor just spoke, Maddie and her son Wyatt, they use the library with elementary schools. The elementary school accesses that library for information, and it is important. The other thing I would like to say is that free access into information should be an adamantly absolute for every community member. Not to bring up the First Amendment again, because it is a bit egregious, but it is our citizen right to have access to free information at every avenue. And so our tiny little community, as many have mentioned, is growing exponentially. So please, I implore you, do your best, do whatever you can. As many other mentioned, lovely human who I believe there was Caleb, Eileen, Frederick, had beautiful comments. I'm stepping away. It's like the Emmys. I'm not getting an award. I will just to throw this in, there are many of our community members who will happily volunteer to keep the library open and operating. Thank you.
Ryan Stark.
I am a product of the Washoe County Library. I still have my library card I got when I went to Mountain Rose Elementary School in 1986. And my 2 kids now have their own library cards as they go to the same school. So much benefit I've received from a wonderful expanded hours and budget of the library system. In 2002, I was lucky enough to go to a How to Start Your Own Business workshop. It wasn't books, it wasn't anything, it was just part of one of the cool things that can happen in a library. Since then, I've had 3 businesses, none of which have lost money. I have employees now. I have helped people pay their rents, their mortgages, all from a little spark that started here at the Washoe County Library System. And that is what is one of the things that is so worth keeping an expanded hours, an expanded budget for all the libraries that might not show up, say, on a spreadsheet somewhere. It's just one of those little things that happen when we all come together. Even in this room, man, what is Verdi gonna do? Meet in the Jamba Juice? Only a great place like this can we all come together and make ourselves better, which is what the library is for. Thank you.
Yes.
Brooke Brumfield.
Hi there. My name is Brooke and I'm a mom of 2. My daughter's in 2nd grade and her teacher's in the audience tonight. She's been letting her borrow her boxcar children's set and she's enamored. I think she's finally in love with reading, thank God. This is my 5-year-old. She'll be in kindergarten next year. I just want to say thank you. I know you guys are in and out every day actually serving our library system. And I know that you actually share all the sentiments here tonight and that you're faced with a horrible decision to make because of the outcome of the election. Whew. I applaud your daily commitment, and I understand that we're probably all on the same team here and that we are all working together and we have way more in common than we do not. So from that place, I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm determined to find a solution with you together, and I think our whole community is that way. As I understand it, the Verdi Library was built by Verdi residents, led and orchestrated by a 5th grade class. I'm on the PFA, and we're ready to step in and help fundraise to close this gap. I know there's a funding shortage, but the bookmobile is not going to cut it. We have an incredible building. How many teachers on the PFA have told me in the last couple of weeks that they have students on special learning curves where they get to resource the broader library system, and that's what we would lose access to, right? Ultimately, our students wouldn't be able to access the whole community of books all across the state because they're on a specific system, and we have incredible teachers like Mrs. Hawkins, and I'm so grateful. Without that, I think we'd really be hurting. And I know Mrs. Cook has already had to save this library twice, so we're doing everything we can to help her. I have a few creative solutions to help make sure my kids and their friends get to go to the library still. We have a ton of involved community groups. Let's come to the table and let's get creative. We will volunteer every Wednesday to have a second body, meet your staff. From my estimates, you only need $15,000 to $30,000 to staff it 1 or 2 days a week for 4 hours a day. I will pick a date and a location, I will plan the damn fundraiser, and I will get people there, and I'm not kidding, I will raise that money myself. Let's fucking do it. So let me know how I can help. My email's on the SaveVerdiLibrary.com website that I built for our community. So thanks for all you do. Let's figure this out together.
Emma Pineda Fortin.
Hello. My name is Emma Pineda Fortin, and this is Carmen Vomer, my daughter. I was born and raised in Honduras, a country in Central America, and Carmen was born here in Reno. I'm raising a bicultural child, and the library is a place where she can come and check out books of people that have different skin tones than most of the people that she sees in her day-to-day life. And she picked these 3 books today. One is called Beautifully Me. The other one is called What Color is the Baby? And the other one is called The World Belongs to Us. We're residents of Verdi Library, and it's a place where I can show her the stuffed animals that is very different. I did not grow up in a hunting culture, but Verdi is very much that. There's land and there's hunting. And so it's a place where I can show her that all different people can come together and we can all learn from each other. And I would love to keep places where we can come together open. Thank you.
Vida Gomez.
Vida Gomez. So I wanted to bring a little bit of context to the meeting. We're here because we've had multiple chances to secure adequate funding for this library system multiple times in the past, and all of those were squandered. And we do need to acknowledge that some people in this room and one particular person on this board advocated to defeat the library tax. So trying to move forward without having that acknowledged, that you're going to be listening to some comments today that I think you should disregard, because those people do not have in any way, shape, or form the library's best interest at heart or the community's best interest at heart. What they have interested in is their own petty personal grievances and their threats of lawsuits that are just so pathetic. It's just so sad to watch and come here. I've never seen something that makes me so physically ill from cringing inside of myself. So, acknowledging that these people are part of the reason that it's caused this, and in some ways, we've all enabled them. Rural Nevada is going to suffer for them. Verdi is going to suffer for them. We are now talking about the future of Verdi's children, and some of them are in this room. And I believe the emotional weight of that should weigh heavy on you so that you make the best decision going forward. So I ask that any budget we have keeps our branches open in some capacity, in any possible way, and also maintains the employment of our library staff, who've also been, again, targetedly harassed by these people. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. December Kukara.
Hello, my name is December Kukiro, for the record. Thank you to the trustees for all of the work you do. I'm echoing all of the concerns for the Verdi Library. As somebody who grew up in a working class family without access to a lot of books, if I did not have access to a library, I literally would not be the person I was today. My family physically could not have afforded to keep up with the books I was reading. To think that we're considering shutting down a library attached to an elementary school feels almost criminally negligent, just because the earlier you can get access to literacy and to the way that it helps you process emotions, think critically, just connect with humanity and the common thread that binds us through literacy. It would just be an absolute shame to let the community lose that access. Thank you.
Thank you. Brody Hawkins.
My name is Brody Hawkins. I have lived in Verdi for 12 years, and I went through all of elementary school going to the library almost every week. I remember one time at the library, I was reading the Dogman series, and I got to the end of it, of what they had there, and I asked Ms. Cook if they had any more, and she said no. And it made me sad. And I remember the next day I came back and she had the new one, the one that I asked about. And it was one of the best experiences I've had there. I remember we used to go play bingo there every now and again, and it was just awesome. I feel like it's just not fair for the younger kids that are still going to elementary school right now to just have their library disappear. They need this education and these great experiences that I got to be able to get far in life, or to like be a good person and give back to the community. Thank you.
Ilya Armenta, sorry.
Ilya Armenta for the record. I'm going to try to keep it short today. I'd like to echo Vita's comments and suggest that one way to sort of rebuild some of the trust and accountability in this room would actually be a little bit more of a process involving trying to help the public understand what really did happen and why we're in this position and how we can move forward. I don't think anyone, the community, nobody has heard this explanation. I know the community feels like they are owed an explanation. Why did one of the trustees advocate against the passage of WC1? We're really not sure about that, and I think it would help us to move forward if there was an explanation. Similarly, why did one of the trustees go to the Board of County Commissioners and partially put us in the position we're in right now when the commissioners had an earlier opportunity to specifically earmark funding for the library? Obviously, the budget is complicated, right, and that wouldn't have guaranteed funding for 30 years, but I think the community feels confused why. This is our perception. It feels like the trustees have actually been working against the library, have created the crisis we're in now, and part of the reason that we're struggling to find funding is actually not because the funding isn't there, but because the trustees, some of the trustees, we feel have not actually been on the library's side. So just as a final comment, I think part of the confusion here is we feel like a lot of the crises that we're in currently, right? They're very much of our own making in the sense that we're pretending like the money doesn't exist. It very much exists, and I think that a lot of the trustees' time could actually be spent going to the BCC, asking them to increase library funding, right? The funding is there. There's tons of programs that get funded at a higher level than the library, right? It's just a matter of priorities, and any public, any constituents, any members of the public, and in particular the Board of Trustees, you do have the power to change the county commissioners' minds, right? And they vote on the budget every year, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be there every single Tuesday advocating for more library funding. Thank you.
I have no additional names signed on for public comment at this time, so we will move on. Thank you all. The next item is item number 3, board comment. Board comment is limited to announcements, strategic plan activity, updates, or issues proposed for future agendas or workshops. May I ask my fellow trustees if they have any comments, suggestions, strategies, anything you'd like to say at this time? Please.
Madam Chair, Trustee Roth for the record. Thank you, community of Verdi, for coming out and telling us your feelings about this. And I hope we can come together if we are not able to secure funding through the county for additional hours for your very important library. I spoke to Mrs. Cook today, and we talked about the library partnership and how important it was to the elementary school. That is not something that would change, but you are correct in that the hours after school would be the thing that would close, not the entire library for the elementary day, but afterward. And so those are the things that we will be working on trying to maintain so that you have access for that. That's my commitment to work towards that for your community. I don't live that far from you. I don't live in Verdi, but it's a short bike ride for me. So I've lived here since 1972, so I've seen Verdi grow considerably. So thank you for coming in and talking. And I think I would like to address the budget issues, on the whole. We didn't get WC1 passed. You can't change that. What I am trying to do, and I know the majority of our trustees are trying to do, is trying to provide a detailed, well thought out budget that the county commissioners can accept. But we have to provide that. I think there's been a little bit of maybe those county commissioners not trusting the fact that the money is needed. And we are working to try and build that trust and make sure that every dollar that we can get and secure for the libraries is spent keeping all of the branches as open as we can with as many books and resources for you and for your children and for this community.
Thank you. Any other comments? I do. Oh, go ahead.
Trustee Rodriguez for the record. As far as future agenda items, I think we've had a couple of meetings now without any library branch presentations. Are we going to? I'm sorry.
I think it's noise in the background. I'm sorry.
Last couple of meetings, we haven't had any of our library branch presentations. Are we going to continue those in the future? Or are we going to be putting those back on our agenda? And I'd like to see them back on our agenda since, as was mentioned before, like with the Explorer magazine, it really does show us that our libraries are more about books. So I'd like to continue those branch presentations.
Thank you. I have a written comment I'd like the audience to indulge in just for a moment. We're at a decisive point in time with the fiscal year 2027 library budget, and we need to negotiate and not dictate to our library managers. In collaboration with them, we need to define the core mission of the Washoe County Library System, identify the priority programs as determined by each individual library venue, and do our best to meet the expectations of library users. The 2024 Library Initiative did not pass, and the library system is one of all the Washoe County departments facing a budget shortfall. These are facts beyond dispute. There is no time to look back, to blame, point fingers, or insult the library board members. We are 5 volunteers working without the input of a library director, an acting director, or an assistant library director, and none of us have received any more details about these personnel issues than the public has. Assumptions have been made and accusations have been leveled at this board, but none of us signed on as board volunteers to get into the weeds or be willing to work without library leadership. However, we're doing our best and more than is normally assigned to the library board. I believe all my colleagues are here to work in collaboration with the Assistant County Manager, Cait Salim, the Washoe County Finance Director, Abby Yakima, and the library managers to develop a realistic and substantive budget for the 2027 fiscal year. Every trustee has made efforts to visit the libraries, and we will rely on the experts who work in them to identify the demographics of their particular patrons, the most often used programs, the best hours of operation that maximize the use of each library, and the staff needed to execute the core mission of each library location. We are not in a position to be all things to all people, and some programs that many people may love may have to be paused for the time being. What we are focused on is the continuation of a robust library system, with venues open and free for all the people who wish to enter their doors. Ranking 47th in the nation for education, our focus should be on literacy, books, computer access, reading hours, veteran and senior services, space for reading and research, educational programming and career development, and rooms for meetings of private citizens who book them in a professional manner. We need to focus on baby, toddler, and kids reading programs, interactions with librarians who praise those who are interested in books, CDs, and audio tapes, and demonstrate a curiosity for the written word, who seek out information through research or just sit to read the latest publications. We can't let libraries become a thing of the past. But we can't have technology replace the active engagement with our librarians and staff who cultivate readers of all ages. Our budget must take the current reality into account, and new ways to generate revenue must be considered. We've heard some tonight, whether it's through grants, volunteers, fundraising, corporate and individual donations, or another tax initiative that is better composed and clearer in its intention. In the meantime, I plan to schedule several extra trustee meetings in order to hear from each library manager and of course those wishing to make public comment. But urgency needs to drive our conversations and deliberate actions to ensure the county commissioners receive a recommended budget backed by rational thinking, data points, and actionable outcomes. I hope that everyone will participate to achieve a budget that is passed by the county commissioners. And while we may not be able to plan for everything we want or things should take place in our libraries, we need to pay attention to the ticking clock and move forward. Without the rancor and blame casting that has been part of our library meetings for over 2 years, the board is ready to work directly with our expert library team and not permit these meetings to digress into irrational commentary or anger. I can't speak for my colleagues, but I have no intention of seeing the Verdi Library closed. I ask for everyone's cooperation as we do what we have to do to achieve a budget presentation to the Washoe County Commissioners in a timely manner. Thank you. From my fellow trustees. Trustee Mosier,
Vice Chair Mosier, for the record, I just wanted to say thank you everyone for coming tonight and expending your energy in the direction that you like to see your community. What I am hearing and thinking through now is that we are in an unprecedented time financially, and our boards are working in silos. And considering the partnerships that we need, such as the school, and considering the budget cuts that those just went through, I think we are at a time when our boards need to work together and have a conjoined meeting of some sort. The commission, the board district, or the school board, and the library board. We cannot make these decisions in silos at this time, I think, and we're going to need partnerships. But we really consider the financial fortitude of how we can remain community-oriented. Additionally, I think the Verdi Library community should have the ability to support their library. Synergistically, I think that makes sense. If the energy is there, we shouldn't limit it. So I think we should think through how to allow the community to have their imprint on saving what they think is necessary for their community. And then I think too, we do need a different type of connection with the county. We are not getting information as quickly as we need to make these type of decisions, and the leadership should really be coming from the leader of the county commission at this time. And I unfortunately do not feel there is a connectedness to the library board and that leadership. I think we do need to request a meeting with these boards and these leaders. That's my public comment.
Thank you. I will move on, hearing no other comments. And Trustee Rodriguez, I am looking forward to the library manager presentations. We are under a ticking clock to deal with our budget, and so that is our basic priority. We will resume those presentations that we all value and appreciate when the time comes. Approval of meeting minutes. Do I have any comments on the minutes as provided to us from my fellow trustees? Hearing none.
Chair, for the record, Trustee Jacks, I will not be approving these minutes. We did receive some public comment emails about the minutes. There was a public comment about 40 plus emails. If they're in the minutes, I don't see that. You know, just Madam Chair, we were talking about all the emails. I'm just not seeing that. There's only 2 here, but if that was about.
I didn't print them all off. They're on the online version. There's 108. I didn't print them all off for you because that'd be a lot of pages, but you do have access to it.
Okay. So
May we formally include those as?
They are formally included.
Okay.
I just didn't print them out for you tonight.
Okay.
Because they pertain to the minutes. And then there was another point on last meeting when we had a meeting. where we were tentatively proving some of the information. I had asked at 1 hour and 14 minutes and 23 seconds and talked for almost 2 minutes that aren't in these minutes about just getting a blanket budget analysis for, let's say we staffed all the libraries for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? I remember I had asked about that, just kind of trying to think outside the box as to, you know, hold back possibly, you know, these other scenarios really scaring the public and the library users. So for those reasons, I will not approve the minutes, and I will submit these for the record, Madam Chair, since we have this documentation.
I do recall your comments.
I can't find them on here, Madam Chair. That is the issue. And then that's just on the list. Thank you. That's all I have.
Let me call for approval of the minutes, noting that Trustee Jacks is concerned that her specific comments made in regards to asking Mr. Solero to look at what if we looked at every library with every display filled. We can amend the minutes to reflect that, but at this time, I would like to get a motion to approve what we do have before us this evening. If I can get a motion for approval, understanding we will amend these minutes to include Trustee Jack's comments from September 17th.
Madam Chair, Trustee Ruff, for the record, I move that we approve the amended minutes from the September 17th meeting.
Do you have a comment?
Oh, no, we'll just still have to do, was that a motion?
Yes. Okay. Is there a second to approve the minutes?
Trustee Roser, second.
All right, all those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. With your amendments.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Motion passes for approval of the minutes. We are now on section 5A, general business. Washoe County Budget Report by Speaker Green. Good evening, testing. Can you hear me? Yes.
Can you still hear me if I put it? Nope. Right. Okay, let's try it like this. Can you still hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Good evening. Abby Yacoven for the record again. I'm your Chief Financial Officer. Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the Library Board of Trustees. This is a presentation that I originally gave on May 7th. I've left as many of the numbers and the dates the same so that we can sort of just have a refresher versus comparing May to today, because we have not yet closed our books. I'm also leaving many of those items the same because I have heard many comments over the past several months, and we see many new people in the audience, so we'll consider this a refresher for all. One more, please. Thank you. So just a friendly reminder on the agenda from last time, we'll do an intro to the topic of the general fund and the expansion tax fund. We will do a discussion on the expansion fund residual tax balance in the fund, because as of June 30th, 2025, as you know, that tax has expired, and so we want to talk about that residual balance, what it can be used for, and who regulates it, and who makes sure that we handle it with compliance and handle it correctly and spend it wisely. And then I'll review with you the proposed fiscal year 2026 solution, because I think there's a little bit of confusion between the general fund, the expansion fund residual balance, and the general fund subsidy of the expansion fund to keep the library system whole for fiscal year 26 while you're having these discussions with Assistant County Manager Solero. And then we'll talk about the permanent solution, and I'll give you kind of a status update, which I know you already know, but many other people from the audience may not, as this has been a lengthy process. So, one more, please. Thank you. So as you may know, but a refresher for those who don't in the audience, we have two forms of funding for the library. For the past 30 years, we've had two forms of funding, and when WCO1 failed last November, one of those funding sources changed, and so that led to quite a bit of debate and discussion. You have the general fund, and that fund, and I'm giving approximate figures because I don't want us getting married to the figures, I want us getting married to the funding sources and what they pay for and what they're permitted to pay for. So the general fund funds about $12.5 million of our county library system operations. There's about 101 employees in there. They may not all be full-time employees, they're full-time equivalent employees. And in the general fund, as with any department, this is NRS and accounting standards, if you have any savings in your budget, if you underspend your budget, which the library, thank you, has for many years in a row, that savings lapses into the fund balance because the general fund provides public safety, judicial, finance, human resources, attorneys, managers, board of county commissioners. I call those the bread and butter services. So any of us that save money, it lapses into the rainy day fund for urgent matters, emergencies, and fluctuations in the budget over the years. The expansion fund is different. The voters voted, and I believe it was 1994. This tax took effect, I believe, in 1995, and it raises its 2 cents per $100 of property tax valuation, and it was raising about $4.5 million annually. There are about 23 employees or full-time equivalents in the library expansion fund, funded by that fund and that property tax source. And the savings at the end of the year, unlike the general fund, is required to stay in that special revenue fund to be used for those specific purposes as voted on by the voters back in 1994. On June 30, and I'm going back to the May 7th figures because our books are not closed and any fluctuation in the numbers doesn't really matter too much for tonight's discussion. The residual balance as of June 30 of 2025 when the tax expired was estimated at the time to be about $3.5 million. The books are not closed yet. I think that number will be somewhat higher, but it doesn't matter for this exact moment. But again, those funds have to be used for the original intent. The tax expired. There's a residual balance of $3.5 million. The total budget of the expansion fund was just over $4.5 million. And so I'll talk in just a second about how we bridge that gap, because I think that in the public that's a great source of confusion sometimes. And so we can't commingle these funds too easily because there are a lot of compliance and regulatory matters that we have to attend to, and the expansion fund and the general fund are both monitored heavily by our external auditors and the Department of Taxation. So we work with the state on making sure that we unwind this fund correctly so that there are not any long-term consequences. And so when we talk about the total fund of the expansion fund being just over $4.5 million, but the residual balance being only around $3.5, we estimated, because we have natural cost increases due to salaries and inflation and services and supplies, and we weren't positive about that residual balance, so we rounded up to $1.3 million would be needed to keep the library system whole for this fiscal year 2026 budget year, which began July 1st of 2025, ending on June 30, 2026. This is a transition year, but the Board of County Commissioners felt that it was important to keep the system flat so that you could have these discussions that you're having 2 weeks ago tonight and then on the 15th of October. So again, this is a transitional year. You're assessing your operational needs post WCO1, so when the Board of County Commissioners votes, they know that they're voting on your most informed information that you're recommending to them on best practices. And a permanent solution will be anticipated for fiscal year 2027, which begins on July 1st of 2026. And so what you're deliberating tonight and then on the 15th will lead into what the Board of County Commissioners votes on. Ultimately, the state law requires them to file the budget, the tentative by April 15th and the final budget with the Department of Taxation before June 1st. So, but we'll be working on this much earlier than that, of course. Thank you. And so next steps, this is quite a bit the same as it was on May 7th, but I've updated to show you and the public the status of what you've been doing. So we've been assessing and determining the operational needs. That's currently underway. You'll have tonight, you'll have one more meeting, you'll have some very heavy discussions and talk about the proper model that you'd like to propose the Board of County Commissioners implements through their funding. You'll determine the resulting budgetary needs. So what you'll do is tonight, Mr. Solaro will come to you with some different models. You will tell him which model you prefer, and then our teams will work together to cost that model out and bring that back to you on the 15th. The original proposed date for this presentation to the Board of County Commissioners was September 30th. I left that date just as a friendly reminder for all of us. It's revised to October 31st approximately, and that's okay. So I believe that is the refresher that I wanted to give. I don't believe I had anything else unless you have questions.
Can we go back, if you don't mind, thank you so much. Just go back to,
Bless you.
Bless you, thank you. When you were talking about the expansion fund, I couldn't see it must be used for the original intent, but when must it be used by?
It needs to be, I know this sounds like a circuitous answer, but I'm going to answer you to the best of my ability. When we've been working with the Department of Taxation, it needs to be used for the purpose with which it was intended, and it needs to be used before the $1.3 million coming from the general fund. We need to exhaust this first, and then we will use the $1.3 million coming from the general fund, and then the Board of County Commissioners will vote on what to do on July 1st of next year based on your proposal tonight and the 15th.
So assuming it's, I believe, 3 million and some change.
I believe it'll be higher than that, but you can say 3.5 for tonight.
Yep. Assuming it's 3.5 million. Could that in fact be added to the, I realize there's separate budgets, but could that be used on top of the 12 million to preserve the programs, staffing, and library hours that we hope to enjoy and approve as a board?
That is what you are doing during this fiscal year, but I believe if all goes as planned, those funds will be exhausted by June 30 of 2026.
Of 26,
Correct.
3.5 million.
Correct.
So we see no change. So what I think the public may have been confused about, I don't think we are anymore, is that we are fully funded in essence. We have 3.5 million plus the 12 million to get us through June 30th of next year.
Yes, and you also have the 1.3 million that's being held in the general fund pending your discussion on what you need throughout the year.
Well, this may be unfair to ask you, but can you tell me why, after WC1 did not pass, we were informed that there would be library closures and layoffs?
Madam Chair, I don't know the answer to that question, and I'm thankful that we're here tonight to talk about the different models.
Because I think there was a lot of public confusion. There were news articles and signs put out, but at no time were we contemplating layoffs or library closures based on the continuation of the expansion fund and the additional money that the county approved. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, I don't know that the Board of County Commissioners was or wasn't debating that, but I know they were looking very much forward to you studying these different models that Mr. Solero or whomever you had chosen to bring to you these models would bring, and then you would make your decision. And so what the Board of County Commissioners, I believe they would think it was premature to assume that. They wanted to hear what your desires were based on the level of efficiencies that you could find and the best practices in library services.
But just to conclude then, the expansion fund, using it for the intended purposes, is only available through the end of June 30th, 2025. I mean, June 30, 2026.
If it's exhausted by then.
If it's exhausted.
If it is not, then we would go back to the Department of Taxation and have another conversation with them as to whether or not we could carry it forward into 2027.
So there is a possibility that if it weren't expended, we could carry it forward. Possibility.
It's possible.
Okay. All right. Other questions from the trustees? Trustee Rock.
Trustee Rock, for the record. We have a question, and this goes back to a meeting, I can't remember how long ago, that it was with Director Scott, and he mentioned that those 23 employees that are in the expansion fund I guess the county commission said to fund their salaries in the expansion fund. They were not moved to the general fund, and if I'm correct, the general fund is, from now on forward, we will only be talking about general fund dollars. Is there a reason why in the time period that those individuals, I think they were hired for Spanish Springs and South Valleys perhaps, why those individuals' salaries weren't moved into the general fund so that we're not, now we have to ask for more money moving forward for those positions? Do you know why that didn't happen?
Trustee Ruff, I don't know why that didn't happen, but I believe that if the system were to remain whole, you would have to ask for it in one place or another. And so, but your point is very well made that we'll be speaking about the general fund going forward. So the model that you adopt tonight and that we cost out and bring back to you, Mr. Solero brings back to you on the 15th, that will become what we call an above base request for the 27 budget year. But why those mechanics didn't happen in the past, I can't answer.
Okay. So then, once the BCC approves the budget that we have worked on with your office and with Mrs. Solero's office, will that be the budget then moving forward, that we will always be the baseline budget? If we will not have to redo this every year as far as adjusting it, we'll have that, just like we have this 12.5 million. Let's say the board approves 18.5 million. Will we then the next year have 18.5 million, or do we have to every year?
This will become, Trustee Ruff, a good question. This will become your new base budget, and I am assuming that the Board of County Commissioners will treat the library the same as other departments. When times are good, there may be expanded requests granted, and when times are tough, we may end up all making certain cuts. But you will not go back to the 12.5 and then have to redo this every year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Rodriguez. Trustee Rodriguez, for the record. The proposed operations plan budget to the Board of County Commission, I know we didn't do it earlier this week. The revised October 31st, that is a Friday, and that is Nevada Day. Are the commissioners holding a meeting, or is that just holding the place there for a different meeting date?
Trustee Rodriguez, I just placed it in there as a frame of reference, because I wanted to be clear that we were talking tonight, we were talking on the 15th, and then after that, Mr. Solero and I will agendize that for the Board of County Commissioners. I was trying to give sort of a placeholder. Yeah.
Other questions, trustees? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Appreciate the clarifications and the information very much. Trustees, item number B, discussion between the Library Board of Trustees and the Office of the County Manager to review staffing models outlining the needed staff to operate the locations, times, and days of the library system for fiscal year 2027, which begins July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2027, as identified by the board at the meeting held September 17, 2025, and possible direction to the Office of the County Manager staff related to budget needs for the Washoe County Library System. And this is an item for possible action. Mr. Solero, before you begin, may I just confirm that at the last meeting, and I did read the minutes, we did not permanently adopt any option. What we indicated was as a placeholder, option A, and you were then going to further refine that. We had every opportunity to further refine that. You were going to cost out, in reference to Trustee Jack's question, you were also going to cost out various options. So I don't want anyone to think that we approved the closure of the Verdi Library or that we approved any particular model for the future. We used that as a place card or a holding place to begin your work. Is that what you understood as well?
For the record, Dave Solero, Assistant County Manager, yes, that is my recollection. I have a slide that covers that based on the action from last board meeting. And so yes, you are correct. You gave me some direction. We needed to start somewhere in looking at the staffing model and really what that looks like. And so
well, if I can just make I thank you for clarifying that. My comment was also to the public. It's very unfortunate the media then reported library closures, Verdi Library closing, and that was never subject to discussion at this board. And I'm not a fan of, I'm a fan of the media. I read newspapers voraciously, but I think it confused members of the public. It certainly drew out many of the dedicated citizens of Verdi, and we appreciate that. But please understand that at the last meeting, there was no discussion of closing the Verdi Library. Just wanted to place that on the record. Please go ahead, Mr. Slade.
All right, again, for the record, Dave Solaro, Assistant County Manager. Sierra, if we could have the next slide, please. Just wanted to reiterate with the board and the public, again, the current mission of the Washoe County Library System is to connect people with the information, ideas, and experiences to support and engage community. One person at a time, got it right this time. And the vision is that all Washoe County residents benefit from library support of literacy and self-education. That is kind of the grounding principle behind the work we are all trying to accomplish here, and really appreciate the interaction I've had with the board members on your thoughts around the proper, or the most efficient, we'll say, not proper, we'll just call it the most efficient operation of our Washoe County Library System. As many people have mentioned, we are here tonight not because the Board of County Commissioners has said, go cut library funding. We are not here because we are in a crisis with our budget. We are simply here because the voters of Washoe County in 2024 did not extend the library dedicated 2-cent library tax for this purpose. We can debate all day long. I would appreciate if we just move forward and understand, again, what Abby had just mentioned, that the base budget from, funded through property tax and through sales tax to Washoe County Library System is $12.5 million. And we are working in the next fiscal year to understand how much more above that $12.5 million we need to provide the most efficient and the best experience for our community based on the funding available. Now, I would suggest that because of the economic times that we are in, that there's not going to be the ability for this library board to say, we want to have more than we have today, roughly $18 million. Certainly you may ask for that to the Board of County Commissioners, but I do think, I'm being honest as I can, I don't think that is a realistic ask to expand the current budget. And the current budget being the general fund plus the expansion fund dollars. So that is kind of the premise of how this staff report was put together and the work that we have been doing since you gave us direction on August 17th. So again, on August 17th, this board provided me with some direction to look at one of the options that was provided to the board. As you'll recall, there were 3 options, options A, B, and C. This board said, hey, let's start with option A. However, we want the caveat that this can be changed. This is not the final. You suggested that I go and talk with the library directors or library managers and really understand the most effective way to really expand some of those non-traditional work hours is what I would say. So traditional work hours in many communities is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. We certainly wanted to expand so that the people that work those traditional hours can have access to our library systems either in the evenings or on weekends. Certainly there are a lot of people that utilize our libraries for other services during the day, but we're really trying to target some of those other working families that also need access to our library system. So direction was provided by the board. Look at option A, come back with it, and let us know your thoughts, essentially. I was hopeful that we would get through option A and I would have a really clear-cut staffing model and we'd say, yes, we can look at this and things are going to be great and I can price this thing out and bring you back a costing model to go with the staffing model. But as we go to the next slide, what we will start to see, and so this is option A, this is what was the starting point for us. I do have to say that the Sparks Library, I do have an error here. It's actually 48 hours on this, so it'd be a subtraction of 5 hours from the existing. And so in all of these charts, the verse existing on the top portion of these charts where it's, we're talking in this instance, 14 minus 9.5 minus 2. Those are from the existing approved library hours that we are currently operating off of. Next slide, please. So again, this is our coverage map. This is out of our 2015 library master plan, and so you'll see these are the kind of the coverage areas, the communities that are served roughly by our libraries. Now, as you are all aware, if I am a user of the Northwest Library and the book is in Spanish Springs, I don't have to go to Spanish Springs to get that book. I can simply request that it get shipped out to Northwest Library. And so there are some things that we do within our library system that really pulls this all together so that we have one comprehensive library system. There were a few questions that were asked at the last Library Board of Trustees meeting. I just wanted to cover those very quickly. There was a question regarding an 8-hour schedule. What does that really mean? In the Washoe County Employee Association, which is what most of our library staff are covered under, this is the collective bargaining agreement, all of our full-time employees are due at least a minimum unpaid 30-minute lunch. The way we operate, some positions take an hour, but they are unpaid. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understands we're not just saying 8 to 5 and everybody gets paid for lunch, those types of things. That's not the case. There was a question regarding some of the automatic material handlers and self-checkout stations, and really I just wanted to reiterate that those were put into place after the economic downturn in 2009 through 12 as a way to assist our staff in providing the services to the community, because during that time we actually cut quite a bit of our staff. It was almost 40% of the staff, maybe it might have been about 50% in the library system. Washoe County did not fund those positions, and that's actually how some of those positions ended up in the expansion fund, because we expanded the library hours and we utilized those funds to fund some of our librarian positions. And then there was a question related to capital construction. When were our libraries expanded, and what did that mean? This was, as you will recall, the graph of our population increase versus the reduction in staff. I don't have that graph in this handout, but certainly the capital construction, the last 2 libraries that we expanded our new libraries were 2005, that was Spanish Springs and Incline Village. Staff reductions actually began in 2009 through 2012. So hopefully that answers the question there. So as we started through the process, once I got the direction from you all on option A, I sent a request out to our branch managers, and thank you very much to all of our branch managers and our library staff for responding so quickly and so professionally in working through what these hours would mean to their ability to staff the library system within the confines of the Washoe County Human Resources and our class specifications for employees. So there are some supervisory level, some lead level, there are other staff members that don't supervise, and so knowing how to operate the library, knowing how to do things, I said, hey, give me your staffing model for 2 options. So in option A, there is a full service library. So that is a library where you come in and you've got all of the services that we currently provide, whether it's story time for children, whether it's senior programs, whether it is some of the tween and teen options that we provide. That's really the full experience. It's not just books. It's not just coming in and having the ability to check out books. And so when you look at this chart, again, at the top, it's versus existing. On the right-hand side, those are the hours versus the current library approved hours. And then as you get down into the bottom chart, those are the actual numbers and classifications of employees to provide this schedule. And it's not just having one person per 8-hour shift, multiple people, and as you start to shift and do a 5-hour work week for an 8-hour opening, then you get to the point if you're open for 7 days a week, you have multiple shifts, and so all of that starts to get pretty complicated. I've got a lot of spreadsheets, I've got a lot of input from the branch managers, but really it boils down to this full service option at the bottom, and the versus existing is versus the fully staffed existing allocations of staff across the system. So as you'll see here, in full service, this slide, they're very close. So the versus existing has increase in staff numbers to provide the staffing allocation associated with the option A. If we go to the next item, that is really a books only. So you walk into your library, there are no reading times, there are none of those sorts of things. There are a plethora of books. There are librarians there to help you find the book that you're looking for. There are services to be able to get those books from other libraries, but really you're only there to check out the books and get the resources associated with those books. It's not the story times, it's not the teen times, it's not some of those other programs that are there. And it does change the staffing contingent as well. So really between option A and we'll call it option A full and option A books only, there is a difference in the numbers of staff to be able to do that, and I've got a slide to talk through that as well. So the next one is really staff said, hey, part of what I asked was, what is your thoughts around the best approach for a full service staffing model that meets your needs as you know them within the communities that you serve, with the caveat that it should really try to model option A as provided by you all. So extended hours, those types of things. And so this is really what staff proposed to me branch by branch. As you look again on the bottom chart, there's an increase in the fully staffed number that we currently have today. So Sierra, if you go to the next slide. So when we get to this one, I've broken down all of those additional staffing numbers. Again, the current is the fully staffed allocations that we have today. That would include all of the current vacancies that we've spoken about as well being filled. And so as you look across that chart, each one of these options include more staff than we have today to be able to provide that service. Sarah, if you wouldn't mind. So again, for option A, to provide books-only approach and the extended hours, that increases our staffing from today. To provide the full-service approach, again, it increases the staffing, and it's roughly 8 additional supervisory positions and 20 additional various other positions, and that's again to double shift some of the libraries for those extended openings. The staff option also increases that, but shows some efficiencies related to fulfilling and filling out a full 8-hour shift for our employees. It is, however, possible to provide full service approach with slightly extended hours we're doing it today, right? Maybe not the extended hours, but we are certainly providing a full service approach to our community that the community hasn't said, oh, that's too much or that's too little. Maybe it's just because they're used to the services we're providing. Certainly this is an opportunity for us to work through that. So I know this is possible to get to a roughly current budget state where we've extended some of these services provided to our community. However, option A, books only, option A, full service, and the staff option based around option A does not get us there. And so I did not.
Excuse me, can you say that again?
Yep, so option A, full service, option A, books only, and option staff option, roughly based around option A in a more efficient fashion, does not get us to staffing or that full service affordable number. And I say that because it's all the staffing models would increase the number of staff from what we currently have today and fully funded.
But based on what staff proposed,
yes,
you're saying
it is still an increase
it's
because
still
they were.
an increase.
Yep. So what I'm saying is option A, to extend the weekend hours, the evening hours at certain libraries. We couldn't find a staffing model that allowed the current staff today to be able to meet that full service or even books only option. So I did not provide you with a budget on staff costing associated with that.
That was my next question. So
yes.
there are no costing.
Correct. So if we go to the next slide, I looked through, a way to try to go above the information that the staff provided me, the information that you provided me, to see if we could get to something that was closer to the what I think is a model that expands some hours, but still allows for roughly the same number of staff as we have today. Now that might be that we've got to work with some of our open positions to create some more part-time or consolidate some of the part-time positions into full-time. I was trying to get to roughly the same number of employees to be able to meet something. So I created a hybrid schedule and an option C, which an option C expanded, which is the next slide, which is a little bit, it's updated from the last staff report to you. Now this one actually gets us much closer to what our current schedule is across the board. It still does shift some hours around, still have to work through really detailed analysis to verify that we can still do it with the kind of the budget that we have allocated for a full budget that we're working on now. But I wanted to bring these options to you and really talk through, is there some compromise that we can make as a board to try to get closer to the staffing numbers that we have that still expand some of these things. And so what I did with, if we go back one, Sierra, is I took some of the hybrid is some of the items that were proposed by our library staff. For certain of these libraries, I'm like, hey, we can be more efficient if we did this, so if you look at Northwest, it's 9:30 to 4:30, 10 to 5:30. I mean, it starts to, it's different than what option A was, but it kind of meets the spirit of trying to do what's best for our community as our library branch managers know it. So I tried to do that on each one of these, and also trying to look at the direction from the board for option A, how can we expand some of the hours? And so you look at, the downtown library as an example. Option A actually had 14 additional hours at this branch. This hybrid option shows 7 additional hours. The question is, can we really staff that or not? I don't know 100% yet, but I'd like to.
You're talking about budget or people?
People. Just look at people now. I didn't run a full staffing model on that. I was looking at the staffing model provided, kind of what that looks like. There's a little bit more work. I quite frankly thought I could get something done in about a week. That was the week to get this agendized and brought back to you, and I still, working through that, just trying to crunch all the numbers. There's a lot to trying to do this. One thing I did find in going through this exercise, however, and getting this information from our library, is you should be very proud of the efficient ability for our current staff to provide the services that they are currently providing to our community. I think it goes without saying, as we're going through this, there's been a lot of comment, a lot of question, a lot of all these other sorts of things on whether we have too many staff or whether we are providing the wrong services or whatever. Our staff are very, very good at providing the right services for the communities that they serve with the resources that we've provided them. Would they all like to have more staff? Absolutely. Would they all like to be open more hours? Absolutely. I think the reality is that as we're going through this exercise, now is probably not the right time to figure out how to get more staff, more open hours on this. I think it's really adjusting those hours that we've got, and so that's what I've provided to you in an option A or hybrid and an option C update. So here, if we go ahead to, I think
it's a pretty small difference though between the hybrid option and the option created by the team, the staff, in terms of personnel. Am I seeing that correct?
So I don't have actually the hybrid option with the personnel column.
Okay.
Or option C. This was something I was putting together, trying to get you a staff report that you could read to prepare for this meeting in enough time. I didn't want to give it to you at 4 o'clock today and try to have you cram through this. And so certainly what I would like to do is move one of these other options that I think is closer to the kind of the budgetary constraint, we'll say, the staffing constraint, and see if we can't get to something that works to meet your request, which is, let's make sure we're very efficient. Let's make sure that we're providing the services to the community where the community needs them, and let's see if we can expand some of those non-traditional hours in a way that makes sense for those communities. And that's really where the expertise from our branch managers came back and said, hey, for instance, Sierra View Library, if I was closed on Sunday and Monday, I could do all these other great things open earlier in the day, match the hours of some of the other services that are being provided for the clientele that I serve, as an example. And so I think there was quite a bit of good information provided through this whole process. And so maybe I'll stop here. I've got some questions specific for the board, but I'd like to see if there are any questions that this up till now has spurred any comments or questions from you all.
Questions from board trustees? I do have a question.
Sure.
And this may be putting you on the spot, but we heard some great, really sincere, authentic conversation tonight, or public comment about the Bird Eye. I got feedback on Bird Eye, Sparks, downtown, and people send their comments to us. We all want to do the right thing, meaning not go backwards in terms of staffing or programs or hours. What do you imagine is the appetite of the county commissioners? Because to Trustee Mosier's point, we have no communication with them other than through you. But I work full time. I can't go to the county commission every week and say, here's what I think. I think they know what I think. But what appetite is there for us to collectively, over the next couple of weeks and meetings, approve a budget that we think it represents efficiency maximum use of hours and budget resources and reflects the number of people that the library manager is dealing with.
So to answer that question, I have not polled all of the board members. That is not something we do. Certainly, I think if you go back and you look through the fiscal year 26 budget process, the conversations that we were able to have with the board in the open meetings, the board really wanted to make sure that you all, as the trustees that they have entrusted in understanding the best operation for our library system, went through an exercise to really give them your opinion on what is the best operating scenario for the library as you see fit based on all of the information that you've been given, right? Now, I am the one kind of stepping in and saying, hey, just a cautionary note, I think that it's going to be very difficult for the library or for the Board of County Commissioners at this time to say, hey, we need to have more funding than we currently have in the two combined budgets that Ms. Yakubin talked about. Now, I don't know that for a fact. I just, as we work through the budget process, as we look through, we haven't even gotten the budget message from our finance team for Washoe County yet, but the library is seen as a department of Washoe County. So as we look at all of the requests that are going to come in from all of the departments, that's the sheriff's office, that's Parks and Rec, all of these other things that our community so desperately wants and needs, the Board of County Commissioners has to weigh through, whether there is enough money to actually increase someone's budget. Or what that looks like. Now, we are actually talking about an increase to that base budget from $12.5 million to roughly another $4.5 million on top of that. So that's going to that's at a minimum the ask at this point to the Board of County Commissioners. And so the question is whether I think if we need more staffing, is the board going to accept a budget that you all say, yes, we need 20 more people? I just don't know if that's realistic.
Let me ask this a different way.
Okay.
If we did this by looking at a maximum budget number and work backwards to look at hours of operation and staffing, do you think we could achieve what the public and this board want to present to the commissioners, given that dollar amount? We're talking about 12 million plus 3.5 million.
Yeah, it'll actually be 12 million plus roughly 4.5 million.
So that gets us to $16.5 million.
So
well, I was just thinking, if we were looking at this from reverse and saying, what can we do for $16.5 million?
And I think that's where we're at with the hybrid or the option C.
Okay.
Or
because there are no dollars.
Or the other would be current operation schedule. Now, the other piece there is I spoke with the board at the September 17th meeting regarding the book budget, right? Our collections budget and the want to get to 10%. We haven't been able to do that since 2007, and so that's going to play into this as well. And so as we look at these models, I don't want to say we're going to reduce staff just to get more books, but is the book budget something that we look at separately from the provision of services? And so I really wanted to go down this journey with you to understand from your perspectives what are the open hours that we should be and where, because the staff is the largest cost to the library system, then the books. And so if we can get close to the staff, with where we're at, I think we can get closer with the books. So I hope that's clear. I think we're close to something here. I just didn't have enough time to actually price it out and give you everything and say, oh, by the way, here it
You've
is.
done amazing work, and I think all of us appreciate all the manipulating you've done based on the feedback you got from us. I guess I'm a little concerned that we should be looking at the total budget amount and looking at what we can do for that total budget amount. I'm looking at a lot of numbers, and I appreciate the variations between option A, the book service, the book only, the hybrid, what the staff had to say, but I don't know what budget numbers are attached to those. Would you be able to look at that and work with us if we had another meeting next week or the week after?
So that's my hope is you will say, okay, I understand the information that was provided. I understand where we're at, that option A is probably outside of our grasp at this point. But certainly the hybrid option or the C updated option gets us closer to that current budget number, to the point where I can say, okay, we'll go back and look at one of those. My recommendation is you provide me one of these two, say go back and do this, or take a look at option A and cut, I don't know, that might be difficult to say, oh, cut time and hours, because the model, when you start stacking the staff and do that, starts to get a little crazy, and that's why I tried to create hybrid and updated C, was to get it closer to a realistic ability to staff efficiently. But my hope is that we can land on one of those two, and I will go back and actually price it out, and you will know it'll be this many staff, and this is the cost of those staff. That will afford us X amount of book budget, and the rest of the piece.
I guess I'm saying it's hard for me to look at this without that information. I'm used to looking at budgets and then seeing what I can afford by way of personnel and programs, as opposed to choosing hours and then saying, oops, we can't even afford those hours.
And I appreciate that, I truly thought, Pollyanna world here, that we would get to something fairly quickly, right? And I thought one of those options from last week, we'd be able to line things up. That just did not occur when we actually started putting the numbers to it. Now, I do think that the hybrid and the option C updated get us to that point where I can say, hey, this is roughly the same cost of our staff today, or maybe it's a little less. Probably not going to be a little less. I think it's probably right where it needs to be. There are some other options that we would propose, but I really needed to land on the largest cost for the budget, or for the library system, which is the people, so that I can provide all the rest of the ancillary things that go along with it. So these numbers don't include the administrative discussion, right? We've had the discussion, do we need a library director? Do we need an assistant director? Do we need all these things? Part of that depends on how you operate your library system. And so that's the next little piece that we'll be able to put together in the next 2 weeks, to have this conversation with you and said, hey, you chose whatever it is. Here's what that costs from a personnel perspective. Here are the rest of the, what I'll call the overhead costs, to run that model over there, and be able to provide you with a number that says, to do all of these things, this is the number that it's going to be, the request that needs to go to the Board of County Commissioners.
Questions? Trustees? Trustee Rapp.
Madam Chair, Trustee Rapp, for the record, thank you, Mr. Solero, for all of your work on this. And as I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the hours in the hybrid. You have 435.5, and the option A was 439, so you're very close with the number of open hours. And not too far with option C update. But what I liked in both is that we restored some time to Verdi. And I would imagine that we could, given that I know that early release is on Wednesday, if that was a day rather than the Tuesday or Thursday that the community decided they would prefer to be open, then maybe that's can remove those hours.
Certainly. So, for the record, Dave Solero, I would suggest that those Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday hours are easier to move around, shift between.
Yes.
If we say we want to put it on a Saturday, that's gonna create an issue with the staffing, because the people that staff that library come from Northwest, right? And so when we look at removing them from Northwest, it's easier to do a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay. Thank you for that. And then I thought I would just move on to questions that you wanted to answer, because I am
Sure.
not for books only. I am for programs. So I do want to explore if you could you price out both the hybrid and the option C for us?
Yes.
Okay. And then I am not books only, because I think we need the programs. I am comfortable with all branches generally providing story time. I think that's the bread and butter of the library, is bringing in babies, toddlers, young people, or seniors for programs. And the very programming for clientele, I think that our branch managers are experts there, so they know their clients and their patrons and what they're coming in for, so I would support their input on that. And I think just a dollar, for me, it's just a dollar amounts then moving forward. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
I have one today. Anybody else? Right. Marie Rodriguez for the record.
I feel like we're really just being given the option of the hybrid and possibly the staff proposed and the books only is option A, the full service. I guess the option A full service and then the branch preferred full service. There's, excuse me?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're referring.
Well, there's the option A full service, which was the very first one, which allows, it looks like, more opportunities for Duncan Trainer, Gerlach, and Burleigh to be open. Is that correct? Because it says partner, does that mean they're open with a partner?
That's option A.
Yeah, are they gonna be open, or is that just bookmobile then?
So
why do they have, I know it says partner there, but does that mean they're going to be open or they're going to be closed and just have the bookmobile? I just want to make sure I'm understanding those correctly.
Yeah, so as you'll recall, option A is presented at the last meeting, contemplated that those non-full service libraries, we'll call them Duncan Trainer, Gerlach, and Verdi, would be staffed in a partnership manner. So we would go and talk with the school district to see if there's any appetite for something similar to what we do in Gerlach, which is the library, the school staff actually operates that library after hours for the public. It was a concept. It hadn't been fully vetted out because we were trying to get to the point of our full service branches being, being able to offer more hours and time. And so, as I recall, I mentioned to the board on the 17th that those areas where it says partner need additional vetting. So I think we had an option as well that the senior center had partner, because we've got the human services agency that operates the senior center. And so that maybe there's already other staff that could do similar things that our librarians do for the seniors at that location. That was one of the options I believe that we had. And so where it says partner on option A, that was really let's hold that discussion around, is there something we can do if we can staff the rest of the libraries, with the option that was provided. And so I'm suggesting that the option A, even if we had 0 hours in the Duncan Trainer, the Gerlach, and the Verdi library, we still necessarily can't afford the increase in staff necessary to create a books only or a full service library with the hours specifically in option A. And so the hybrid changes that a little bit, and it talks through those things. I'm trying to think of it.
I got it.
Okay.
I got what you're saying. I just wanted to understand why it was like that was going into place, so there wouldn't be. Okay. Oh well, I'm the same. I definitely. There's several things that were said during public comment that really resonated with me. And that one is that Verdi is growing. It's going to continue to grow. I don't want to see hours cut there. We need to be better. And I'm not saying just this. I'm not saying this library board, but as a county and as a state, we need to be better at managing our budgets. This is not something that should be sacrificed. We need community. We need a place to come together. And some of these places, like Incline and Verdi, these are pivotal places that we should not be sacrificing, and I don't want to see that at all. We, as library trustees, we need to protect the free access to free information. We need to protect that library spaces, but more than anything, right now, we need community. We need that, and so I don't want to see programs cut. I don't want to see doors shut. I want people to be able to go somewhere and learn how to use a 3D printer and have somewhere to go and meet. This library just served as a place for the literary crawl in connection with Nevada Humanities. We need that kind of thing in our community. So books only is definitely not an option for me. I want to see the hours, as many hours as we can keep open. That's what I want to see.
Ann Silver, Mr. Solero, if I look at this as a jigsaw puzzle, where you've mixed and matched various hours. But much like Trustee Rodriguez, I heard comments tonight, but I also received about 100 emails, and I'm looking at your hybrid option, and I heard from Incline, for instance. I don't believe anyone's here tonight from Incline Library, but if you took an hour away on Tuesdays and made it 6 o'clock, because I heard from those folks, they drive down Mount Rose at the later hours, a little more dangerous, and if it's snowy or icy, it's dark, etc. You took an hour from there. If you found volunteers to man the senior center, that's 20 hours there. And you're not using library staff, but you were using volunteers trained by library staff to man the senior center. You could then add hours to Verdi. You might also take the 2 nights you put to 7 p.m. at Spanish Springs and add hours elsewhere. I'm just looking at, there are infinite numbers of ways to jigsaw these hours. But if we're going to be responsive to not only the library staff, which is most important, and the public, I think your hybrid is a really good format for us to then see how can we play with these hours at 435 and a half, and perhaps add more to Verdi, reduce Incline to 6 o'clock, and play with some of the other areas, including the senior center. I'm just positing that as a potential if I were going to bring this differently, using your hybrid model.
For the record, Dave Solaro, yes, no, I appreciate that. One of the things that I didn't want to do was create a big jumble of kind of the staffing models, right? And so there are some potential operational changes that could be made in the way we are currently operating our branches that may be able to allow us to shift some of that. Now, and it's only because, I say right now, Senior Center is staffed from staff at the Sparks Library. Right, so if I take the 20 hours from the senior center and we say we're going to allocate that somewhere else, have to look at that matrix to see is there some other location where those same kind of classifications and hours of day fit, and then we've got to go back then as well and look at the Washoe County Employees Association and say, okay, well, we're talking about an employee working part-time over its Sparks Library and part-time over this library. What are the other ramifications of that? So certainly all of those things, I think I put in the staff report another option as well related to programming, right? Instead of having this, the staff at the library do some certain program, we create a little team and they go do that program at all the different branches. We do that to some extent with some of our things right now, but I do think that there are some ways. And so certainly, if the board wants me to look at, let's just say, for instance, right now, the hybrid option and try to work with staff to come up with something that adds hours closer to option A that still does this and allows senior center, for instance, to still be open, staffed in a different way. I do think that's a pretty easy one to be able to get to. I heard this evening, even if we maybe created at some point a model whereby we have trained volunteers that can come in and open and close the Verdi Library for certain hours to assist there. I think all of those things are important to look at and move forward. My one caveat to that is we are, as Ms. Jacobin talked about, we are kind of up against a deadline. I don't want to force you into making a decision, but we do need to come to some kind of an agreement for our next fiscal year. I do think that there's a really good opportunity for this board coming up. You will have a new director. That recruitment starts in January. That new director is going to have to work through with this board to understand the strategic plan for the next 5 years of this organization. We're at the end of the current strategic plan. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to have those conversations about what are those services and how do we provide them and where we provide them in a much more eloquent way than I've been trying to work through over the last few weeks. But certainly there are ways that I can take this information and go back and sit down with the librarians and say, okay, we've got our marching orders, we know what we're trying to accomplish, can we get there, and what does that look like for the board? Because I'd like to bring back to you in 15 days or so, dollars.
Trustee Rock.
Trustee Rock, for the record. So, would you like us to make a motion to pick one of these two? Is that easier for you than?
Can I interrupt? I'm so sorry, because I think what I prefer to do, and you tell me if you're willing, and these are you're my colleagues, I'd be really hesitant to make a motion to approve any of these tonight, except to give you some opportunity to play with moving several hours in the hybrid model, based on what we heard tonight, based on emails the board has received, calls we've received, because pursuant to the mission, we're here to serve each individual. We also know the facts. We are underwater, and WC1 did not pass. We can't rehash all that or do anything about it. I heard someone in public comment say, we know the county has the money. I discerned that it does not. And I can't make money that doesn't exist. If the initiative passed, we'd not be having all these conversations. But we're also under a time crunch. We have some timely decisions to make, but I don't want to. This is so rich in data, and you've been so articulate in the way you presented it. I'm wondering if we couldn't have a few more meetings to take a look at ways we might amend these hours so that we are pleasing more people more of the time than less, if that's possible.
Marie, just for the record. This staff proposed option, this was a proposal based on responses that you got from library staff, is that not correct?
That is correct, but it was also based on trying to meet the merits of option A. Remember, some expanded hours and it was really, I think what we started to get with the staff option was, hey, if we need to expand our hours to meet option A, I would do it in this way, which was provided, and these are the staff that I would utilize to do that. And so, when we look at option A, books only, option A, full service, and staff option, full service, it's quite a few more staff than we currently have today.
Right, but right now, don't we currently have like 20 vacancies?
That includes the vacant positions filled. So the assumption from all the librarians was every position that we currently have is filled. And then I'm going to need X, Y, and Z to meet this staffing model.
Okay. Because honestly, I feel like if we're going to look at where the hours would best be served, that information to me should be from our library staff, because they know when people are there, what they need for the activities. Like for example here, they know when they need people for community tour, they know when they need people for certain programs, they know when the kids are coming out of school or college students are coming down here. So the staff proposed option to me seems like that's kind of getting as close as we can get. I'm not really sure what other meetings would accomplish, since we don't really know what the staffing needs are. It's the staff that knows that. Seems like we already got that information.
So as an example, the hybrid option and staff proposed option for the downtown branch. If we look at those two line items, essentially what the staff said is, hey, based on option A, if I've got to keep the downtown library open 7 days a week, this is the way I would do that. So I went a step further and said, hey, we can't afford that based on the numbers of staff associated with that. So I created a hybrid option and said, hey, but I think we can get most of that, and maybe we close on a Saturday. And so that was utilizing the staff hours and cutting a day, because that shifts the model. Now, again, I haven't priced this out, and I haven't done the detailed staffing model. My gut tells me, after looking at all of these spreadsheets, that the hybrid option and the option C gets us much closer than just simply the staff option or option A. I do appreciate the ability to be flexible in the direction coming back. what I heard tonight was we want full service branches. We want to provide those services to our community. We don't want to just be a building with books. So, that gives us an option to go down and say, okay, now we know we've got to do, provide programming. What does that programming look like? I've also heard, sounds like children's story time is very important. It's very important for staff as well. And some of those senior programs, the early literacy, all of those types of things. So I can take that information back and work with the staff. If you would like to say based on the hybrid option or based on option A, I will come back to you with some pricing for those. But I think, realistically, we should be looking at the hybrid and the option C, and I can look at both of those and maybe make some few adjustments to say optimal staffing would be X at this number and bring it back to you with some pricing in 14 days.
Maria Rodriguez for the record. So if we said today and made a motion and said, okay, we want to go with the hybrid, just like last meeting, it's not set in stone. We could still work with flexibility with that if need be. I mean, we could, like you said, go back, get all that information, but if we needed to tweak it at some point, we could do that again, could we not?
Yes, I do. I do think that Chair Silver has the right approach to simply say, hey, go back and look at this option, but not make a motion for all the reasons, people are going to take the motion as set in stone. That's not really what we're doing here. We're trying to get to that sweet spot of what's most efficient, what provides the best services, and something that we can, afford with the current budget, I will say. Certainly, if we get to that point and it just doesn't work for you all, and then we've got to go back to the drawing board again, we can certainly do that. But I think we're close to something that you can all stand back and say, we have done a good job of really reviewing what it takes to provide these services that we've heard from our community, that we've heard from the library staff to really check the box that we're doing what we need to do for our community. And that in turn then checks the box what the Board of County Commissioners asked for, which is a review of the library system and how we're providing the service, what those services are, how we do it, where we do it, all those things.
Trustee Rodriguez, just for your information, I spoke to Mr. Solero because it was clear we definitely needed input from every library location. And they are the experts, they're the ones running the programs, they know their constituency, they know the demographics of their population, and the best hours. So I think that's reflected here. I think the hybrid, and what I'm most concerned about is the pricing of the hybrid, because I'm just used to working from a zero-based budget and saying, what will it add up to? And do we think we could get the commissioners to approve that? And is it to the liking of our branch managers and the best we can do for the public? If that helps. Yes?
Trustee Moser, for the record, I would like some information to help consider in my consideration. What are some proposed development projects in which regions, or which ones are approved or loading for approval within the county? Do you have that information top of your head, or could you do research regarding where will be expansions for our community?
So certainly I have access to the information that is provided through Trek Meadows Regional Planning Agency that shows those locations where projects have been proposed for expansion of residential housing in the community. I also know, however, that within unincorporated Washoe County, as an example, many of those approved subdivisions have been on the books for decades and they haven't been built. And it's just whole host of reasons why. So I don't know if providing the information that this is where that they're currently approved is helpful. Certainly I could provide the link to you to show you, what that information looks like, but it doesn't tell us when they're going to be built. It doesn't tell us, it tells us where, it tells us how many, but it doesn't tell us when necessarily. So I don't know if the information is as complete as we can get for you to make a decision based on, I'm guessing on, future expansion of our community and what that looks like. Certainly our 2015 facility master plan targeted the North Valleys as an area that was going to grow, and it has grown. And we haven't made any changes in North Valleys since that. there is an item on our capital improvement program for Washoe County to hopefully fund a North Valleys library. But that is, it's down the list behind also a courthouse and a jail and some of these other sorts of things. So I do think that we have identified through our master plan, our facility master plan, where our community is growing to the point that it would need a new library or an expanded library experience. But I don't think we're quite there yet. I hope that answers your question.
It did, thank you. And then to follow up, are there any dedications financially when considering development? Is there any onus from developers to contribute to the community, such as library saturation of programming and facilities? Anything earmarked just from saying yes to developers to coming into our community to then improve the community they develop?
For the record, Dave Solero, Assistant County Manager. So there is nothing directly tied to a new home construction that goes directly to libraries. Now, through state law, there is a residential construction tax so that every building that is built provides an amount of funding for a park district to be utilized for parks, but that does not exist for libraries. There are a few, there really aren't earmarked directly for expansion of home developments that go directly to certain services. And so that's what property tax, that's what sales tax, those are those base kind of tax pieces that we in government utilize to provide the services that our community is looking for. So.
Great, thank you for that information. With that in mind, I'm going to ask that we as a board challenge the commission to accommodate us championing the library system. There should be this type of consideration from the commission, so I think that we should propose either fully funded or hybrid option for them to then make space and reconsider how they take developments and consider our community financially and the financial channels that create these facilities and institutions. The library is a pillar. We cannot, if they cannot make space for this, then that is on them, and we are the champions of this space. So I will be supporting either full or hybrid.
Chair Silver, I completely agree with your comments. I think we are required to be the champions, and I don't have a problem giving the commissioners a bold approach to what we want. But I think, as I've indicated, there are no numbers attached to this. So I think, pursuant to what you've asked, I would ask, and I don't know if this has to be in the form of a motion, for Mr. Solero to price out the staff option given, which has a considerable difference in terms of hours from the hybrid. But if we were to look at both those, knowing to Trustee Rodriguez's point that we could amend or make variations or substitutions, we'd at least have some idea of where we are on the budget. I feel that I'm looking at things and not having an understanding of what I'm up against in terms of our funding and what we know will be our funding. Do I feel aspirational in presenting to the board that the community's grown, that it's up to it will be on them if we have to cut back on library services, and that will be very obvious to the public. But I agree that if we could ask Mr. Solero to cost these out, with the understanding we would still want to look at each and every library based on what the library staff has indicated to us and see if in a mix and match kind of way we couldn't achieve what appears to be a reasonable request from the commission. I have no problem asking them for more, but I'd like to see what our base is if we cost these out. Is that something that could be done within the next week or so?
It can certainly be done by the October 15th meeting. Yes.
And I'm confused in terms of the presentation to the commission of the library budget. We're up against end of October, or do we have a lengthier time to present to them?
So there is flexibility. We are backing up towards about 6 Board of County Commission meetings between now and the end of the year. Quite frankly, we couldn't get on the October 14th board meeting anyway. And we have October 21st and October 28th. We don't need to hit October 28th, but I would suggest that we need to provide something to the board at their November 18th meeting, the one meeting in November.
Then I would suggest one additional meeting, because I think we want Mr. Salim to come back with numbers. So we can look at what the budget looks like, and based on what the CFO provided us tonight, take a look at what the staff has requested, see the delta, right? And see what we're willing to do, to Trustee Moser's point, and go before the commission on behalf of the public and all of us who love the libraries. We're going to put it on them and say, based on population growth, intended development, we may not know everything that's being developed, but we know we're growing exponentially. This is what we're advising in order to serve the public. But I can't do it without numbers. So.
And certainly I could provide those numbers. I was hopeful that this exercise would be similar to what we do in the capital improvement world at Washoe County, is we define the need and then put the dollars to it, right? Because we want to make sure the need is not being forced based on the dollars. And so that's why, but we're to the point where I can put the numbers to it and bring that back and say, okay, the staff approved option is going to cost X. Okay. And this is what it means, an above base request to the Board of County Commissioners for these, whatever it is. Same thing with the hybrid. I can do the same exercise there. So it gives you that review, and you can get the gut check of, is this something that we can support moving forward to the Board of County Commissioners?
Trustee, for the record. So the difference between the staff proposed option, which are librarians and branch managers put together, and the hybrid from Mr. Solero, is 3 things. It is the downtown branch being closed on Saturday, the Spanish Springs branch being closed on Saturday or open, and an additional hour Wednesdays at the Northwest. Those are the only 3 differences.
But there's room to change some of those. Trustee Salim,
right.
Sorry.
I just wanted to.
Yeah,
it's really
it's very minimal. But given those 2 options and costing them out, given another meeting wherein we could say, what if we mixed and matched based on staff preference and what we can afford, and what we heard tonight, and what we continue to hear from those who contact us. I'd like to think we could, by mid-November, have come to an understanding of what we're proposing to the commissioners. I mean, sadly, we've been dealing with this budget for a very, very long time. We're down to the final stretch here, and everyone has asked great questions. We've gotten tremendous input from the public. We know we want full service. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. I think every trustee wants full service. We know how important our programming is. We understand that some of these library hours may have to be amended. I think you did a great job of contrasting the staff proposed option to the hybrid. If we could see them see their costs, and then see what we might tweak or amend, we might get to something we can all live with.
Trustee Moser, may I make a comment?
Please.
Is there comfortability in the board to present both options and let them pick and choose, because the differences are so similar, or they're similar with the exceptions of the differences, and I feel comfortable sending both and saying, yeah, and we can do it tonight. For me, I feel like that would give Dave the space to feel comfortable too with the things he needs to do, and not postpone this any longer, and provide, 2 solid options.
Sorry, Trustee Jax, for the record. Mr. Solaro, with this information that the board's presenting, it sounds like you'd be presenting to the county commissioners then, or we would be kind of a final spreadsheet, board option of spreadsheets. But are we going to come back again, Mr. Solaro, and talk about all the other data that the board collectively talked about? So we're gonna come back again, but it just really sounds like we are taking these two options to the commissioners and they're gonna approve that because that's only one portion of the budget. And just a real quick point, Madam Chair, briefly. I do appreciate the alphabetized list of libraries that we've kind of stuck with, kind of just that's the way things have always been done. But to your point earlier, just seeing a partner, a closed, you know, things like that, because we're sticking with alphabetized locations, it would be better maybe to have the partners separated in a different bottom section and then the rest up top, just to allocate, because it is so confusing for, you know, transparency, just what it means to be a partner, and just having that explanation. Because the senior center, when I visited there, they really want, the community there, the patrons really want more hours at the community, sorry, the senior center with such a big focus on the seniors. And then just trying to understand what partners mean, meaning school staff are in the library. So again, opening that discussion, but that was all plus the previous point. Thank you, Madam Chair.
That makes sense. Thank you, Trustee Jacks. Let me first go back.
I know.
I appreciate what Trustee Mosier said. I think we can be bold and do whatever we want. And I hope we're there to present to the commissioners. But we need to give Mr. Solera some direction. He is the one crunching these numbers, not us. And to Trustee Jack's point, this is only one aspect of the budget. Personnel being, I think you said 85%?
It's the largest portion of our budget.
It's the largest portion. So we definitely need to look at that price tag. And then we want to look at full programming. And we want to look at what efficiencies the staff may have said relative to programming. Use of the bookmobile, use of volunteers, use of fundraising, all the things we've heard about. We have to start somewhere. And so I'm wondering if we should have an additional meeting or meetings, as long as we have a quorum, where we could continue to take a look at the diagrams, add the personnel costs, and then get a rough estimate from you, Mr. Solero, and Ms. Guckman, as to what else we need to plug in, so that when we are going to the commissioners, we're saying, here are your two options. We factored every element into these budgets, not just personnel, even though it's the largest segment of the budget. Is that something, I mean, I'm talking to myself.
Trustee Moser, I agree. I think that will prevent us from over budgeting in one area and not another, so I do think I'm okay with that.
Well, what I'm really pleased about is that the staff has had every opportunity to give you what they consider as their optimum hours, or what their constituency would like to see in hours. We may not be able to come to that, or we may be able to rob Peter to pay Paul, in essence, take some hours from somewhere else to give somebody else hours. I think Verda is very important. I think the senior center is very important. One client has said they don't want past 6 o'clock. So if we can shuffle those around, perhaps you could come back with the personnel costs for the hybrid and the staff options, and also give us what other elements of the budget, book budget and other elements, have to fit into the $16 million price cap. And if we choose to ask the board for 18 million, or the commission, I mean, that's our choice. But I have no numbers to work with at this point.
If I may, I think what I can come back with on the 15th is per branch, a staffing and costing of that staff for the current, so that you've got something to bounce that off of. The staff option. And the hybrid option, so you've got those kind of three. So it would be broken out per branch. I don't want to get to the point where we're pitting branches against branches. No. So it's really just like, hey, to do this schedule at this branch, these are the three costs that it would be. I can aggregate that up for each of the branches. It's going to be a little, probably won't be, never mind, I'll skip that. Also then, the cost of what 10% of an overall budget would be for books. That's kind of the direction that I've already gotten from you. And then really what that overhead cost is all the other things associated with the library system and what that looks like, and we can take a look at that. It might be different between the different options just based on overhead and kind of what that looks like. I will also request from the librarians, the branch managers, any other creative ideas they've got related to how to fit programming into this at in a different way than we've been doing business, and see if I can provide that to you. I think that will be a lot of information for you all to contemplate on the 15th. Whether we can get there, I'm super hopeful and optimistic that we can get pretty close to hey Dave, why don't we do this and take something to the Board of County Commissioners? If we can't get there, then certainly maybe we should start contemplating just looking at your calendars, maybe a meeting. It's very difficult with open meeting law and some of those other sorts of things. So let's say we meet on the 15th. In order to meet again, let's just pick a date on the 22nd, I would have to have the agenda built and put together by the 17th, 2 days after we meet. And so I think we need a little bit more time there, but potentially the week of the 27th, maybe the 29th or 30th, because I'll be out of town at a conference on Monday, Tuesday. We have Nevada Day on Friday, but maybe Thursday, Friday might be something we can at least look at to say, do those days work if we need them, so we can let the public know. Potentially we're going to meet, that week. We'll put out a poll to see if there's a better time for all of you. But is that something that you could all live with?
I think you're presenting us a number of options, and I think we're getting closer. And I think we have a difficult task of taking a look at a reduced budget because of WC1, but demand by the public and all of us who use the libraries to try and get over the hurdle of the failure of WC1, do it creatively, do it efficiently, use the library experts to tell us what their constituents want, and based on a hybrid model, see if we can get close between the two of them. If you're costing those out for us, in addition to the book budget at 10%, and in addition to any overhead, does that sound plausible for everyone if they were to do that?
Yes.
And I will also go out on a limb and provide a recommendation to you.
Why not? Go there. I think what we want the public to understand is we're not voting on anything tonight. We are not saying, here is it, here's what's going to happen, here are the hours. We're a little bit away from that. We've gotten closer in the last month. We're finally doing what we should have been doing months ago. But this is great work. I think what's particularly exceptional is that the library managers were involved, and in the absence of library director, an acting director, an assistant director, going right to the people with boots on the ground and saying, what does it look like in your library? Which is what I thought was most important and compelling. So I think the combination of their input and the hybrid, if you cost those out, adding the book budget and adding overhead, we can see how bold and daring we'd like to be. And I like that idea. I have no problem. I mean, I guess I have one more question. If the commission, do we get just one shot at this? Or do we get an appeal to the board? I mean, I haven't had to ask them for much. Fortunately, we don't get any funding from the county. But my question is, if they say no, is that no to the entire thing? Or they then negotiate with us? Or we have a chance to go back and say, you said no, but what if? I don't know how that works.
Again, for the record, Dave Solaro, Assistant County Manager. I really don't know how that works either. This is a new process, right? I do think that the board will be thankful that we've gone through these exercises to really understand, what you are proposing to them and why. The reason I don't know whether there's an appeal or some of those others, because again, this is just one piece of the larger budget that the Board of County Commissioners has to contemplate. And so they have their strategic plan, and certainly we as the library system fit into the strategic plan, but there are other priorities of the county that they've got to weigh. And so my hope is that they will say, yes, we've done what we need to do, we're going to approve this budget, and that's going to be kind of the first block in the Washoe County budget. based on what we know today, which is still a crystal ball, cloudy crystal ball on how much funding is available through property tax and sales tax and other things. And so I think we have a really good shot at saying, hey, let's set the tone for the rest of the county while we go through the budget process. But I don't want you to all think that at some point when we get to the point of the Board of County Commissioners contemplating a budget and something catastrophic happens and all of a sudden we have 50% of the sales tax that we would normally project, the library system probably will not get funded 100%. You heard Ms. Yakobin. All departments may be asked to reduce from a base state. What we're trying to determine is what is that base state that we should be entering into the fiscal year 27 budget process with. So,
well, I think to Trustee Mosier's point, I'm not afraid of the county commission or being bold. I think it's all done with rationale though and deliberate thinking relative to the condition the county is in. And it's a fluid process. Things are happening day by day. I know what the City of Sparks and City of Reno are dealing with. If you don't have your final numbers, they could be much decreased from what we anticipated. But I think we have to at least move forward and get a round number that you think might be practical for us to go in with. Understanding, as I said earlier this evening, we're one of many, many, many departments of Washoe County. Do I think we have a very strong argument that we're unique and that we are free and we're providing massive public service almost 7 days a week, and that there are not, I mean, the surveys come out that the most important things are public safety and senior services and fire. But I think we have a good argument on our own, and if we get 1,000 people who've shown up over the last year to public comment and hammer it home that we want library services, we'll do our best. But I'm more comfortable if I see some numbers and know how far off we are, or if we're in the ballpark, or if we're ready to go to them and say, we don't care what you think, we want 20 million. I mean, I think anything's possible, but I think we have to do it rationally and deliberately, looking at numbers. So instead of us, does it have to be in the form of a motion? Maybe we ask you to come back on the 15th with some final numbers, or what your approximate numbers are on the hybrid and the staff adjusted hours, knowing we can look at that and maybe still make changes and ask you to go back and once again reflect what the budget looks like, adding our 10% mandate on the book budget and overhead to see if we're even in the ballpark.
Certainly, I'm probably going to speak for Mr. Kaplan here, but what I've seen other boards in this position do is go ahead and not take an action, but I've gathered all of my notes. I know clearly kind of the consensus of the board in a public meeting right now, right? So I can take that and provide you the information back on the 15th for you to contemplate with dollars by branch and really have that next robust discussion to get to the point to see if we're in the ballpark. So.
I want to really thank you for the analysis. This is a lot of work done by a lot of people, and I particularly appreciate the time you took to chat with each library manager. Those were the voices we were missing, and I think I have more suggestions, but I'll wait till the next meeting on some efficiencies. Somebody mentioned tonight, I'm just going to put it out there, I think I indicated, I'm not sure if we need an assistant library director. I mean, I think there are all sorts of things we can look at. I favor creating senior library managers who might oversee 2 other libraries, including their own. I don't know the collective bargaining agreement well enough. I got a copy of it. I don't know what we have the latitude of doing. But if we were to look at this as a business, we have to make sure it's sustainable. And we have to make sure it's approved, and we have to make sure it's meeting the needs of everyone who uses the library. Maybe not everything they want, but as close as we can get to the public's demand for library services and the library experts' view of what they should provide to their particular library venue. So I don't think we need a motion. I think Mr. Solero has taken enough notes, and we'd appreciate a lot more information at our next meeting. Understanding, you may not get us to vote on anything that night. We may say, we need another meeting to deliberate this and to even dig deeper into some of the issues. And Trustee Rodriguez is interested in what programs there are. I don't think any of us are looking at cutting programs. But if we're looking at personnel taking up such a significant portion of the budget, we then have to look at its library hours and personnel, and then programming, and then administrative, or then overhead costs.
Yeah, I do think when we put the staffing model together, it's going to include having the programs that the branch managers, really feel work for their branches.
Based on what they said in hours.
Correct. Yeah.
Separately in programs.
Correct. Yeah, I think that covers that piece. I mean, what we did notice was if you look at just books only versus programming, there is a difference in hours, and so we that will be built into the staffing model and then translate into the
So are you satisfied with the direction given? Does anybody else have anything to say, please?
Thank you,
Trustee Rapp.
Thank you, Trustee Rapp, for the record. I have one question, Dave. First of all, thank you. There's a lot of work, obviously, you went through to get us this, and I appreciate all of your time. And I love one thing you kept saying, we, for the library, we, that you were part of the library, and so I really did appreciate that, that you've taken ownership of all of this and are so helpful. I have one question. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I can't think of the number. It was 2 meetings ago, and you said how many hours were open currently. I don't know if you remember the hours that was open. Like we were looking at 4:15.
Yeah, I think.
It's okay if you don't. I couldn't come up with the answer.
I think you were not at the meeting last week when I clarified. I believe it is around 435 hours.
Okay.
I think that's the kind of the number.
I just wanted to see where we were ballpark and yeah, it's very close, so thank you.
Other comments from trustees?
Trustee Moser, I just wanted to say that the appeal will be at the ballot box.
Certainly. Other comments? Questions?
Thank you.
I do really want to thank staff really for, I mean, they're the ones that crunched a lot of the numbers. I just looked at a bunch of spreadsheets so I was blurry-eyed to try to work through it, but it's really the branch managers, even those that were on annual leave, really jumping in and getting the work done, because this is important to them as well. So just want to make sure.
It's the most important part of the puzzle, I think.
And I just wanted to add that Dave really did commend the staff basically for being self-sufficient when I spoke to him, and really taking the onus and ownership of the branches and the activities that go on. So thank you to the staff. It's felt by many people in the library system, not just patrons. So thank you.
All right. You've taken your notes. I think we were on item B. We need to move forward with item C, which is staffing report for current fiscal year 2026, an overview of upcoming necessary library closure dates for October and November of 2025. And these are closure dates based on whose decision?
So this, for the record, Dave Solero, Assistant County Manager. So as you'll recall, last meeting there was a decision that I took ownership on, that I hadn't provided information to you all related to those single-day closures of single branches, based on staffing challenges, because I've requested that the 20 positions that are currently unfilled remain unfilled. And so I wanted to come back to this board and just let you know kind of what's transpired in the last 2 weeks, which is I've worked with Human Resources at Washoe County to open an internal promotional only recruitment for librarian and library assistant 3. So those are the supervisory and lead positions that we've got within our system, to promote from within, to be able to fill those positions, that lead that supervisory piece, to help us plug the gaps that we've got from our staff taking vacation or having to go to a conference or whatever that looks like, that is causing us to have limited staffing in some of the libraries because of the decision, until we understand kind of the direction of the fiscal year 27 budget, to not lay off staff. But I feel we can promote from within. The net FTE change is going to be 0, but it'll allow us some more flexibility to be able to staff some of those branches. I've also provided authority for the branches to offer overtime pay for those employees that may be off, to fill some of those needed spaces within our library system. At the end of the day, however, I passed out an item for you all. It has a little chart on it. I've provided a bunch of copies in the back as well for the public. But really, with the holding of those 20 positions open currently, looking from October 11th through December 1st at this point, there are still 9 days that we're going to need to close a branch. In this instance, we were unable to fill through overtime Incline Village on Saturdays. So there are 8 days for Incline Village on Saturdays. They are all Saturdays between now and the end of November.
Just coincident, I mean, how is it that
So
Incline Village?
So many of the librarians that staff Incline Village live down in the valley, and so it's hard to get other employees to travel up there. I think that when we hire either the librarian, because right now the Incline Village has the branch manager and I believe a librarian. The librarian position is open, and so we're trying to staff 6 days with with one person basically, and so it just doesn't work out very well. And so that's where that comes up. Incline Village Library also has the vending machine out in front, so there are still some limited services for the community in Incline Village. But I do fully believe that also when we are able to fill the librarian and or librarian 2 positions, that we will be able to be to close or open the library on some of these days that are identified. That recruitment is open through October 6th. So I suggest any of our library LA2s and LA3s that want to promote within the system to go on the HR website to put in your application for that. So I believe we'll be able to fill some of these gaps once we get there, but it's probably going to still have some closure. I just want to make sure you are all aware that that's currently where we're at today. This list is much smaller since we offered overtime and a few other tools to be able to get there. Again, really appreciate the library staff stepping up to really provide those services. I mean, it really shows that they care about this community and providing those services. In addition, you'll see the Senior Center, Verdi, and Duncan Trainer on November 26th. So that's the day before Thanksgiving. So we would like to close those libraries so that they can staff the other libraries that are that their home branch is, whether it's Northwest or Sparks Library. So I wanted to provide that information to you. Again, this is kind of my decision working with the library branch managers on what we can afford based on the decision to not fill those positions that are currently open. I think we're getting close to the end of having to have this conversation. I really do think we are, but I just wanted to make sure you were all aware of that. And the media is going to take it where the media is going to take it, and the Board of County Commissioners are going to know tomorrow in their board brief. So everybody will have all the most current information. But I did want to make sure you were all aware of this so that you weren't caught off guard as we start to advertise through the library system to let our patrons know that these specific days we will not have library services. Just at the one branch on a Saturday.
Quick question on Incline Village.
Yep.
It's a beautiful library, and we offer additional compensation to people who work in Incline Village Library. I'm not sure if it's compensation, but it's a mileage or driving.
Yeah, there are a couple things in the Washoe County Employee Association Manual. Mileage is one of those. If you've got to drive there and that's your station library, there's a stipend if you live there for that, because the cost of living in Incline is obviously more than down here.
Do we focus on Incline Village residents to take these jobs versus people who have to drive from Reno or Sparks?
That's a really good question. I do know that just in my day job as assistant county manager with development and those other sorts of things, we do have, much like anywhere else, believe it or not, Incline Village has a workforce or affordable, or there's a housing shortage for the working people in those communities, whether it's the roads crew or the librarians, the school teachers, the nurses, all Incline Village is no different than what we face down here, and so I do believe it's less expensive to live down here and commute up to Incline Village. I'm sure if we had someone from Incline Village, and they wanted to work at the library system and they were most qualified for the position, we would hire them to be there. But certainly, again, it's merit-based, so we don't not location-based when we select our employees.
Any questions about the closure schedule? Thank you for that.
Thank you.
For the notice of that. Any other comments on the last item on the agenda? We will go to item number 6. Mr. Solero, thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time and the expertise to provide this information to us. Item number 6 is public comment. 3-minute time limit per person. No discussion or action by the board may be taken upon any matter raised under this public comment section
until the matter has been specifically included on an agenda. So I will ask cancellation, Drew Rebar.
Drew Rebar for the record again. Let's see if we can have some more content-based discrimination. In 1971, there was a man named Cohen. Cohen was wearing a shirt that said, "Fuck the draft." That went to the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court said the government cannot discriminate based on the content of your speech. Now tonight, and on September 17th, that's what's happened to me. You can put in very narrow tailored restrictions. So for example, you can restrict somebody from saying things that are threatening. I don't want to say anything threatening to anybody. You can prevent people from saying things like, "There's a fire in the theater." But you don't get to prevent anybody from turning around, facing other people. You don't get to tell me what I can or can't say. I really want to know, how come you guys let the ICE people here? The masks are really scary, you know. I'm worried I might get arrested and be sent to some foreign country with these masks on here. So how come you guys let them clap through my moment of silence? I just wanted 20 seconds of silence for Charlie Kirk. I tried that at the September 17th, and Vice Chair Mosier, she didn't care about that either. So how come you guys let the liberals get up here and have their moments? You let them do whatever they want to do. I mean, at least tonight the German movie makers weren't up there making hand signals. We prevented that. But why? Well, it's not really a question. I mean, we got 4 Democrats up here, at least 3 communists. So it's not a surprise really that conservatives are taken down and discriminated against. I guess it's understandable. Maybe you don't really believe that I'm suing you. The real concerning thing here is how the attorneys lie. So the attorney that's representing y'all, Lindsay Liddell, she's been spreading some lies about me, stalking people. The great thing about lies, when people put sworn affidavits into court, it's called perjury. And the great thing about today's technology is we've all got these cell phones with us that tell us exactly where we are. And the great thing about what I do is I record everything, so you guys should really probably think about who your representative, not her, Lindsay. Why do you think she lied about me on that email that went around? Why do you think she told people to be careful that I'm stalking people? I've never stalked anybody in my life. Yeah, I got a copy of the email. Isn't that cool? Have a nice night.
Thank you, Mr. Rebar. Final public comment, Cait Salim.
Cait Salim for the record. I want to commend, there was a young man that was here earlier tonight that gave public comment, and I want to thank the 4 board members that gave him their full attention. All of the board members should have given him their full attention and respect. He's a young man, he's a kid, and he spoke to a board in front of a group of people, and he deserved full attention. So I wanted to address a comment that was made kind of offhandedly in the discussion about the assistant library director and how we don't need an assistant library director, or we're not sure if we need one. I want to give examples of duties, and this is from the class specification for Washoe County. Example of duties: act on behalf of the library director in the director's absence. Our library is going to be without a director until at least April. Provide operational oversight of branch libraries in the Washoe County library system. Evaluate recommendations from branch managers to establish service levels and standards. Work with the director and staff to create, implement, and evaluate library policies. Ensure policies and procedures are carried out consistently at the branch level, serving as the initial resource for information and interpretation. Review work methods and procedures, and develop changes to improve cost efficiencies, effectiveness and efficiency. Supervise branch managers, professional assigned subordinate staff, participate in all hiring decisions, assign and review work, administer employee discipline and conflict resolution, and conduct performance evaluations. Monitor performance evaluations across the department to ensure adherence to standards and fairness in application. Resolve personnel issues that escalates from a branch or division level. Serve on the director's administrative team. Participate in determining the direction and goals of the library and in developing long-range strategic planning and initiatives. Evaluate and determine staff training and development needs. Review and work methods and procedures and develop changes to improve efficiency and cost effectiveness. Recommend and coordinate staff assignments throughout the library system to best meet service needs. Coordinate workforce development, planning, and related projects such as succession planning. Review job classification specifications to ensure they are current, accurate, and applicable, and update as necessary. Regularly provide direct public service in all branch locations to remain connected to the community, programs, operations, and staff. Coordinate all public services, oversee community outreach and collaborations. Provide administrative support.
I see no other indication of anyone wishing to make public comment. At this time, I will move on to the last agenda item, which is staff announcements. This is a non-action item. No discussion or action may be taken on any matter raised under this comment section until the matter has been specifically included on an agenda. Are there any staff announcements?
Yes.
Great.
Hello, I'm Carrie Stindell. I'm the branch manager of the Sparks Library. Just came up to share a little story that happened today at the library. So we have a regular patron that comes in frequently and checks out materials. He stopped by the desk, had a little chat, and talked about several things that were not going well for him. I asked, do you have anything that's going well for you? And he said, first, I woke up today. And the second thing he said was, I'm at my favorite place.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Any other staff announcements? If not, I will proceed to adjourn this meeting. Thank you. Ms. Hero, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I didn't